Afande umbo yako iko na
Nini umba special.
This is the situation. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
How are you doing? Welcome to Wednesday. This is the 14th day of the month, and we are here, bright and early, ready for another conversation. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. How are you, Nduoko?
Very well, fine.
Very well,
How
fine,
many things
thank
am
you.
I am fine, thank you. Ooh, good morning.
Good morning to you, City.
Yes.
Mwono you fine, thank you, Apa.
Atumsemaje?
Mwono you fine, thank you.
How do you mean?
Mimi, fine, thank you.
That response is appropriate and to the point. Wow. Hey, it's one of those days, is it?
It is. Indeed it is. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
You know, this weather, it's odd. When it's raining, I don't know, it's my body or it's really the reality.
Tell us.
It doesn't feel as cold as when it was actually cold and it wasn't raining.
No, it's not actually. It's raining, but it's humid.
Yeah, no. This is the benefit of taking girl children to school. They learn things.
So it's
Really?
what?
As opposed to boy children don't learn anything when they go to school. If it's iffy. Comme ça.
Humid.
So
Solution.
it's rain. It's wet and humid.
Yes.
Right.
Because it's raining, you get a breeze in the morning, but man, there was a time there was some biting cold. It isn't there.
Yeah. It's true, c'est vrai, monsieur.
Yeah.
See? Scare you, Andrew. Scare you?
C'est vrai.
Yes. Yes. Whatever that place is, I think it's a place she's fond of.
Which place?
Sefe.
Yeah.
Hey.
and she misses it.
Hey,
Just telling you,
Chukuna.
Sefe, I miss you.
Are there two places? It's just one is near the other.
They're not places. It's someone.
Oh! Okay, Sefe, miss you.
Seve,
Sefe,
miss you.
I miss you.
Okay. People are terrible.
So now, we will talk about many things today. The quest and the search for a new Chief Justice continues. Yesterday, Professor, she has many names, but let's just go with Kameri Mbote. She has many.
But they end with Kameri Mbote.
They just end with Kameri Mbote.
Okay.
Patricia Kameri Mbote was there, and she answered a couple of questions. And today will be the turn of Court of Appeal Judge Martha Koome, as the interviews continue. Just as Professor Mbote was actually facing the questions from the commissioners of the JSC, I was looking at various commentaries in various fora, and some people were like, okay,
What?
No. That is how you actually project and bequeath the power of sight to what? Size, to the heeing and hawing. I guess you see it. All right, put words.
yeah.
Use your words, Eric.
So there were some people who felt like she was underwhelming.
Oh, like that.
She was?
Underwhelming.
You know, with the credentials that come with her, you know, in terms of her academic qualifications, what she's done in the world of academia in law, and then ask questions. For example, asked a couple of questions. For example, this one she was asked by JSC Commissioner, who is a former clerk of the National Assembly, and he asked, so in your quest to make sure that, for example, we activate this elusive judiciary fund, who is it that you'd need to talk to, for example, in Parliament? She was like, I need to talk to several committees, maybe the Committee on Finance, maybe JLAC. And she was asked, so what is JLAC in full? The Committee on Law.
It would appear that she didn't know, or that maybe she was fumbled by nerves or anxiety.
Yes, that's what wasn't clear, you know. In terms of now being very eloquent and, okay, this is a specific committee, or this is a specific organ that I need to deal with to make sure that we move things forward. You know, there was a bit of fumbling here and there, and people were like, okay, man, what's happening? What's happening? Are they coming too fast, these questions?
But clearly, one of the things that I noted was there was, as has been reported in the Star, they brought in issues of integrity. The impression I got is that these people are going to dig into your past, and they are going to shine a light in anything that moves. If it appears that they want certain about it, they will ask, and they'll give an opportunity to explain. Yes. What I want to see is, since there are so many, I want to see if the same yardstick applies to each and every of these candidates.
Yes.
Or whether they are going to be full throttle on some candidates, and then some candidates are just going to be asked some here and there questions, and then sort of like pat on the back and said, okay, nice you're here, see you. So
let's see. So we'll have a conversation about that. What is it that is expected of the next Chief Justice? We'll be speaking with constitutional lawyer Waikwa. He'll be joining us in the next hour. And then at 8, we have another talk about the effect of this lockdown on the economy and coronavirus and fighting COVID, especially when it comes to people affording housing, people affording to pay rent. We'll open up that conversation so everybody can join in and tell us their own experience. If you're a landlord and you have tenants who are facing some difficulties, if you're a tenant and you're facing difficulties, if you are even a homeowner but you have issues in terms of repaying your mortgage or your loans, we'll be hearing that conversation. Meanwhile, COVID-19 in numbers.
All right, COVID-19 in numbers. Let's look at what's going on in the world. 138 million, 13,074. That's what the global numbers look like right now. Okay, let's go specifically to Kenya and see what we found yesterday. Now Kenya stands at 147. 147,147 cases on the nose is what we're looking at right now. Yesterday, having recorded 991 new cases with 26 new deaths in the country yesterday. If we look at what the Ministry of Health also had reported from their daily roundup, just a second here, and I'm going to pull that out. A number of things to look at while that's coming up. So we saw that they're still vaccinating more people, and we know now that a total of 526,026 people have been vaccinated across the country, and that has been now split into different sectors, seeing what is what there. All right. 26 deaths reported in the last 24 hours. 1 occurred in the last 24 hours, 15 within the last month. So look at what we saw yesterday, where we saw the number of deaths having been recorded, and only 2 had occurred that day, and others were from the previous month. We've seen the same again now, that 15 occurred, possibly a month ago, but then now were being collated as of yesterday. Nairobi still has the highest number of COVID-19 cases that are found on a daily basis. This 991 people was taken from a sample size of 6,417. So given that sample, a positivity rate of 15.4, which is around the same average that we've been seeing over the last 10 days. So 15.4 positivity rate from the reports that we saw yesterday is what we are looking at in the country. And they still want to continue with vaccinations. So just looking at a snapshot of some of the things that are happening COVID-wise in the country and around the world, 26 million people are targeted for the jab in new plans. 30% is the targeted section of the population in Kenya's initial vaccination plans, translating to about 16 million people is what they hope to vaccinate in the first phase. It's nowhere near that, obviously, with what we have. Now, new plans, they've revised the vaccination plan, and they hope to have an extra 10 million people vaccinated for the disease by June in the next 3 months, right? The implementation program says it hopes to ramp up the exercise and cover 26 million adult Kenyans by June next year. So they're hoping to do 10 million by June this year and would have completed 26 million by June next year. That's the hope. According to Collins Tabu, who's the head of the program, by the time we reach this figure, we project that the burden due to deaths and severe disease will have been lifted and we will have reached herd immunity to restart our economy.
Who's this?
Collins Tabu, who's the head of the National Vaccine and Immunization Program.
Where? In Kenya?
Kenya. Yeah. We're talking about Kenya right now.
Wait, those 10 million numbers was about Kenya?
Yes. In the country Kenya where you reside now.
Okay,
Where
please
did you
go
think I was
back. I
talking
think okay. Start again.
We are here. Pinch yourself. Kenya.
All right.
Here.
And we're talking about we are in April.
That's why I was looking at you, but clearly I think that the lights were on, but nobody was home.
She was in February.
He was in February.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, you're talking about Baju.
No.
Okay, start again this story.
Okay. Rewind. Okay. Kenya hopes they have now, look at the word, revised its COVID-19 vaccination plan. All right? And they hope to have an extra 10 million people vaccinated against the disease by June next year.
Okay, as opposed to 3 million. Was it 3 or how many was it?
Yeah, initially it was 4 million people.
Okay.
So obviously this is not going to work.
Or was it initially? Okay, go on.
The National Vaccines and Immunization Program says it intends to ramp up the exercise to cover 26 million by June next year. There's a problem here with this story because initially
it's an extra 10 million to 26.
Exactly.
Yeah, from 13.
All right.
Yes.
So from 13 now moving to 26, an extra
from 16.
10. From 16 to 26,
All
an
right.
extra 10. All right. By the time, and according to Dr. Collins Tabu, by the time we reach this figure, we project that the burden due to deaths and severe disease would have been lifted and we would have reached herd immunity to restart our economy. Okay? They had initially targeted to vaccinate 16 million vulnerable Kenyans by June 2022.
Yep.
Now, the Tabu says the country will use up all the vaccines in its possession as it awaits a second shipment from the UN-backed COVAX facility.
Right.
525,000 people on average have received the first shot of the AstraZeneca and Sputnik V jabs. According to Dr. Willis Akwale, the uptake so far is so good that the country could deplete its stock in the coming 10 days.
Very good. Very, very
So
good.
there's a plan to bring in.
So we've already
another
passed 500, 500,000 people have already been
526
vaccinated.
and some on top have been vaccinated. 526.
So now they've said it's not about getting this 1 million people getting 2 jabs. Let's give one jab.
Yes. And
the
as
1
we
million.
finish it, by the time we are finishing it and
We'll
the
get a
plans are in
new
place, we'll get a new batch and
consignment.
we're looking at,
That makes sense. The thing that I have an issue with is this issue of herd immunity, because the discussions around it, from an epidemiological perspective, it is something that is considered possible, but at what cost? Why do I say this? If you listen to the discussion about surrounding the surge or the prevalence of COVID infections in India right now, which are reaching epic proportions, they have even surpassed what was being mentioned in Brazil, okay? One of the things that is said about people in the healthcare service was that they thought that they had achieved herd immunity. And that is why they opened up the country to this religious festival that brought everyone from everywhere to simply, dip themselves in the Ganges for this religious rite. And lo and behold, what then happened? The prevalence has shot up. It is scary. And that's where the stories of now vaccine nationalism have come in with regards to India. So now if we're talking about herd immunity in this country, yes, the term understood. But every time countries around the world open up, what is achieved is not herd immunity. What is achieved is an extremely epic rise in
Spike
infections.
infections.
So
Does it lead to herd immunity, though?
the theory is it should.
I've seen a story there, Ndu, if you just go back to your browser. There was a story on the BBC quoting Dr. Fauci, and he's talking about herd immunity. Herd immunity is an elusive concept, according to Dr. Anthony Fauci.
So what he's saying is that a return to normality would be gradual, and it's not going to take a light switch going off and on. So you can't hope that you can essentially, what he said yesterday, and this was reported across board yesterday, that the thing is that everybody thinks that you let the disease into the community and everybody gets it, and then they should be able to heal and then build up their immunity later on. And he's saying it doesn't quite work like that. And this herd immunity concept that people have been playing around with for some time is actually not the way to look at it as a solution. Won't come about as quickly as you hope it would. There were some folks, I mean, initially, what was Great Britain used was going to lean on this hypothesis. Boris Johnson came out very clearly and said, you know what we are targeting right now is all right. Let's let everybody get it. And then we will be fine thereafter. Turned out to be a totally different case.
This thing.
Yeah. Is the thing.
What's wrong with it?
You see, the herd immunity has to be explained in greater detail and with examples of where it has worked. But if you look at the examples of where herd immunity has been achieved, essentially you're saying that this particular virus needs to spread to literally everybody. Okay? And then there's a balance. There are those who will fall sick, there are those who will die, and then after that, it sort of stabilizes. But with this particular virus, what we're seeing is mutation, and that mutation...
Reinfection.
Yes. It throws that herd immunity discussion a little out of sync with every other discussion, because you now have a situation where we're talking about young people being less affected. You now have, with these new variants, younger people now being affected more. If you look at those who've studied the virus, they will tell you that one of the qualities that it has is, apart from just infecting your breathing mechanism, the issue of blood clotting.
Yeah.
Now we are seeing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. They are also having the same discussion as AstraZeneca.
Yeah, moved on to a further discussion. The US has actually suspended the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because of this, that they've seen some who've been vaccinated with it then presenting with blood clots. And so the US has said, stop it. Even this one that we said would be so... Yeah, let's see what's going on here.
Let's take a break. 18 after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Yes, we are already live streaming, and we are going to already see people saying hello to us. Say hello. We will be saying hello to you shortly after we take a look at the weather. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
All right, this Wednesday morning, it's looking mostly cloudy in Nairobi at 16. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 17. Looking at mostly clear conditions in Nyeri at 15, highs of 24, lows of 13. It's mostly cloudy in Nakuru at 15, highs of 26, lows of 15 today. Also cloudy conditions in Eldoret at 15. We'll see highs of 25 coming down to lows of 14. 19 will be the low in Kisumu, which is what it currently is, going to highs of 27. Likelihood of rain for most parts of the morning. It's mostly cloudy in Kakamega at 17, highs of 26. Highs of 32 will be recorded in Mombasa today. Light rain in some parts. Also raining in some parts of Malindi. Highs of 31 and lows of 26. Mostly clear conditions moving out of Kenya into Kampala at 19. We'll see highs of 26, highs of 24. Also in Dar es Salaam, rather highs of 28 in Dar es Salaam. It's 24 right now, and it's rain showers through most parts of the morning and the day. 16 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 27 and lows of 14. We're looking at clear conditions in Lagos. Again, going to be quite a warm day, going to highs of 33 and lows of 26. Partly cloudy conditions in Kinshasa today, 32 the high, lows of 24. Beijing also is quite warm. We'll go to highs of 22, lows of 8. It's rather chilly. The winter seems to be unabating Western Europe. 1 degree and clear in Paris, going to highs of 11, down to lows of 2. 1 will be the low in London, where it's clear at 6, going to highs of 11. It's 11 degrees in New York. Still Tuesday night. It'll come into Wednesday, highs of 19 and lows of 9.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
It is
Nairobi.
21 minutes after 6.
It is. So everybody's in this morning. Haran Stacker says, waiting to watch live on KTN Home. Absolutely. But in the meantime, I'm listening via 102.5 in Migori. Good man. Beda Ashley tuned in this morning from Machakos. 100% hot. Yes. Ken Clinton Omosh proudly tuned in from Kisumu Car Wash. Is that a place?
Yes.
Oh, it's a place. So it's not like a car wash.
No,
I've heard about it
There
before.
is a car wash, but the place now has the name Car Wash. It is called Car Wash.
It's like Keno
It's like
Yes.
Keno,
Yes,
which is
there is a
because
Keno
there's a
petrol
petrol
station.
station.
or Totally.
Sorry?
Totally.
Total.
It's Toto. It's on the way to Kericho, all right, on the main highway from Nakuru to Eldoret, and then you branch off towards Kericho, right?
There's a
That
there's a
place.
Makutano there.
There's a Makutano, and then there's a Total petrol station. So the people around Molo call that area Totally.
That is so cool,
Right.
I think.
And then they demolished that petrol station.
Yeah.
So now we have no totally.
Oh, no.
Uh-huh.
So, Peter Ogutu is tuned in from Kisumu as well this morning. Habari zenu wase. Malindi tuko chonjo, and that's Dorcas Kimoda. You're awake. Good morning. Paulo, good morning. Tuned in from southeastern part of Asego, Kanyada.
Homa Bay County.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Ken Clinton Omosh proudly. Okay, that was Peter Ogutu also tuned in from Kisumu. Mislenia Manoa tuned in this morning. Have a wonderful Ramadan Kareem, you too, brother. Sami Amoni tuned in. Good morning. Good morning, Joseph Ngore. Joseph Mainan Duhio tuned in this morning, having some spicy tea, he says, and drinking it from Malindi. Good. We hear there's rain there, so, be warm. And sadly, people are going hungry. This is true, Patrick Loturi. Good morning to you. Tuned in from Dandora. That's where Stanley Kamwigi is. Waterman Jeffrey tuned in from Minnesota this morning. And he's saying he's under curfew tonight, too, just like yesterday. Well, it looks like it is the story for a lot of states in the U.S. now. Rogers Lai tuned in from County 001, also wishing Muslim brothers and sisters Ramadan Kareem. And good morning from Robertson Bogo, spicing things up in Mombasa. Karibuni Sana, good morning, everybody.
Yes, good morning, City. Today's proverb.
Yes. Very simple, really. Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
I love it.
Right.
Should I
Smooth
repeat it?
seas.
Don't make skillful sailors.
You must go through the tough experience.
It goes like that.
Deep end, manenos.
That is certainly one very positive way of looking at it.
Right. So let's take a look at the headlines then. This photo is the headline photo in the Standard, the photo in the Nation. What's the photo in the Star?
Why Kenyatta needs Raila in 2022 poll plan. And then Muhoho and Gideon met ODM leader yesterday.
Right.
Then there's a story on page 2.
So it's a headline everywhere.
With that same picture that you see in the Standard and in the Nation.
Nice.
But they have that picture now on page 2.
So the Nation has Raila in talks with Gideon Muhoho. Standard, Uhuru, Raila, new flurry of meetings. Let's just look at that. A series of caucuses have characterized the ODM leader's diary. On Saturday, he met the president for 6 hours. On Saturday. Uhuru nowadays has some free time to visit Karen. While yesterday, Raila was hosting Gideon Moi and Muhoho Kenyatta. What's cooking behind the scenes? That's the story on page 5 after this meeting. So it appears that Raila is meeting everybody. Everybody's coming. Everybody's coming to Baba.
Has he met you?
I'm down the line. Down the line.
Your turn will come.
My turn will come.
Just patience.
Yes.
All right. So I can join the queue.
You just join the queue.
All right.
You see, The next person maybe to be hosted will be the deputy president, because the deputy president was meeting the deputy party leader of ODM, Wycliffe Oparanya, at a hotel in Eldoret also, and they met for quite a number of hours. So, what do you read from this meeting yesterday between the son of Jaramogi, the son of Jomo, and the son of Toro?
There's a nursery rhyme that comes to mind. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Oh, wow. So who's going to have the great fall?
Someone's going to have a great fall.
Who are the king's horses and who are the king's men?
Right.
You see, the story of Humpty Dumpty revolves around this egg. Okay? However, that is what we believed when we were children. As I grew up, I realized the story was never about the egg. No.
It was about?
What is mentioned in passing, and I think Ndu has understood it, all the king's horses and all the king's men. Now, the horses don't come on their own. They come with men riding them. So now, when we look at this political horse that is in this country we call Kenya, okay, what do we see from the riders? Because this is what we're seeing. This particular rider went here with the horse, the other one went here with the horse. What are we seeing? So Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. And here Humpty Dumpty is us.
Who's going to put us back together again?
See? I told you, this thing of taking girl children to school.
It works, huh?
It works.
Yeah. I think these guys are playing a lot of what Brian Abara calls what? Shock opera. The political shock opera. Big meeting here, and then you're left speculating this and the other, and then the next time another big meeting there. But what stands out for me is that the president is having very many conversations with Raila recently, and they're being reported, and they're 6-hour meeting with Raila. Called him at night, visited him.
It is being reported.
Took him on a tour around the city. Come and see the kingdom.
Are we saying that what is reported is what is the when we read what has been reported? That's the only time they have met. The answer, I believe, is no. So why is it being reported?
Well, that's where the shock opera comes in, and the games. So why are we being told that this time, and even the length of the meeting, the duration, they met for 6 hours. He called at night. He visited him. They decided to take a tour of the city and inspect some projects here and there and be seen together and address a media conference at State House.
As we meet here and talk for 4 hours every day.
And nobody says these guys met.
We just talk and then it ends. Then again the following day we talk and then it ends. No.
Maybe that's where the difference comes in.
Yes.
Our talks are fruitless.
Remember that story of waking up on the other side of the bed? I think we should extend that particular story. Some people wake up on the floor.
Under the bed. Under the bed.
Well, some don't sleep at all. I was just waiting to see. I think the Tanga side has really toned down, because this one, they would have gone to town with it. This photo. The son of Jaramogi, the son of Jomo, the son of Toro.
I think
Dynasty.
they're recouping. Given the recent events in the not too distant past, okay, some of their hopes have actually been dashed in the full glare of the public. So sometimes a little silence and reorganizing is necessary.
Wanajipanga.
It is important for them to do so. Yes, so that they can appear. And silence is good, as President Kibaki showed us with great clarity. Yes, you let people imagine what they want, you let them think what they want, and then every once in a while you come up and make a statement, then you go back to silence and let them continue doing what they were doing before.
We'll be looking at more headlines shortly. It's 6:30. Let's see how the roads look like. And as we do that, let's remind you about jobs.standardmedia.co.ke, jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. This is the portal where you find very many jobs that have been advertised. You can actually go and sign up for newsletters that come to your email or via SMS. You get job alerts that relate to the kind of job that you'll be looking for. A number of jobs have been advertised. There are operations and technical manager at the Center for Public Health and Development. There is a consultancy on event coordination and management, head of supply chain, assistant manager, executive secretariat, call for proposals for facilitating qualitative research methods and analysis. all those jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, so what are we looking at today? Not much in terms of traffic. It's not too bad. It looks as though folks have discovered this new road that was opened by the president a couple of weeks ago, and it's actually helping with traffic on Mombasa Road. In and outbound this morning, we expect quite a lot of people to use that. So what you do is that you connect from the SGR through to the ICD, the new ICD route, and then you'd get onto the southern bypass. You want to go then towards Mombasa Road, which might not be a good idea. You can keep going on the southern bypass. Will not cause you too much in terms of problems this morning or even later on during the day. It looks pretty good. Remember that between Nyeri Stadium roundabout and Bunyala roundabout, that has been closed off. It's going to be closed off until at least the 29th of April. So plan your trips ahead of time. The other routes that you can use, and it seems that folks have adapted quite well. Coming off Thika Road into the city doesn't look bad at all. Kiambu Road is building up, but not too bad. Westlands CBD into Huru Highway is smooth through pass into town, no issues whatsoever. Industrial area, Landis Road out from Jogo Road, looking all right, slowly building up. Let's take a look in a short while and see how that has changed. We'll let you know what it looks like in other parts of the country as well. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, more headlines, Ndu?
Yes. So, there's a kind of a worrying story. 3 patients die after failure at oxygen plant, and this happened at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital yesterday. In relation to COVID, obviously, the deaths of 3 COVID-19 patients last Saturday following an oxygen outage at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital has lifted the lid on the perils Kenyans face in the public facilities. The deaths occurred after a mechanical failure disrupted the normal supply of the gas. The processing plant developed a mechanical problem on Saturday at around 3 p.m., leading to an inadequate production of cylinders. It lasted about 4 hours. According to County Health Executive Gishoki Karaoke. A slight increase in COVID-19 patients would easily overwhelm the oxygen plant that produces 190 cylinders per day. The plant could not produce the required 80 cylinders. It only managed 40. However, we were able to obtain about 140 cylinders from Nairobi and Eldoret that saved the situation. More lives could have been lost, according to them, if it were not for the quick action of county health officials. But then posing a problem here, that the hospital serves Nakuru, Baringo, Samburu, Kericho, Narok, Nyandarua and Bomet counties. Last month, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said the public health facilities have only 16% of the oxygen that they need. So now this one major plant having these problems, hopefully that will be sorted out. But 3 patients did die as a result of this and problem there with that. That's a story that was covered in terms of what happened. So now we know the reason. And
that's a very sad. I was actually, when I saw the headline the first time, I thought, well, I hope this is a reporting issue. I hope we cannot actually say this is directly attributed to the lack of oxygen, that oxygen ran out and then these patients then died. But then it's been attributed to the executive in charge of health. This is actually the health minister saying, and we could have lost more had action not been taken.
By the health officials in the county.
So we're talking about people who were on supplemental oxygen.
Mm-hmm. So the plant failed, right? And they were not able to get what they needed, essentially.
Or people who are had been intubated and were basically getting direct oxygen.
They suffocated to death, is what we're talking about.
And there was no oxygen now being pumped to them.
Yes. And there were some who were suffering the same fate, but by the time they were able to get things up and running, then they were able to get them back stable. But these three, unfortunately, did not make it.
It is so sad.
And we're looking at a hospital that serves a number of counties, eh?
Yes, it's producing and serving how many counties again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other counties apart from. So Nakuru, Baringo, Samburu, Kericho, Narok, Nyantaro, and Bomet, all would then, at this level 5 hospital serves as a referral for all of them. Okay, so this is a big one. I mean, in terms of hoping that now has been sorted. And that, I mean, sure, you don't know when these faults will happen, but hopefully that has been sorted and that we're not going to have that problem again. But then just goes to say that if you have that problem at one major hospital like that and you don't have an option in terms of where to go in the future, imagine then what you would be dealing
Plan
with.
B.
Plan B, there's no plan B.
I'm looking at, so what the story is also saying that the patients who are in need of critical care in this particular one facility have risen from 14 to at least 80 in 3 weeks. Nakuru county government officials said 74 patients were under normal oxygen support, 4 in ICU. 74 patients under normal oxygen support. That is, it is such a sad thing, can imagine, for the families.
Exactly.
Just seeing that what happened. Even the healthcare workers in that facility. You know, you have a patient, you're taking care of a patient, and then now you're seeing what's happening. No oxygen.
And
what do we do? There's no
supply.
There's no supply. We don't have any cylinder that's just lying there. Oh my God.
You have to watch them go, unfortunately. This is what happened. Can we look at another ministry with another problem?
Yes.
Okay. Illegal car plates are exposing ministry's laxity. An ongoing crackdown on cars with illegal number plates has once again exposed the loopholes created by the lack of centralized system at vehicle registration plates in the country. Even. Hundreds of vehicles have been impounded, mainly in Nairobi, raising questions as to who authorized issuance of the customized plates that have been on Kenyan roads for more than a year. Owners of high-end vehicles, as well as senior government officials, including those riding in GK-plated cars, are the most common culprits on the highways. Production of number plates and registration of vehicles is controlled by the Ministry of Interior through the National Transport and Safety Authority, the NTSA, after the function was taken away from the Kenya Revenue Authority due to security concerns. NTSA in the past 2 days has been impounding vehicles with customized number plates across the country for violation of the traffic registration plate rules. NTSA Deputy Director in charge of training, Mr. Wilson Tingong, yesterday said that the crackdown, which started Monday, will continue for the next 2 weeks. So there are vehicles running around the country with customized plates and have not gone through the right process. Who's issuing them in the first place?
Guys just making this thing.
They're making their own and just slapping them on the vehicle and
road.
Not going through.
You're driving a huge fuel guzzler and then it has those. And on
then
top of that, they have those
latif.
2 strobe lights. They have those 2 strobe lights on the grill, just harassing everybody left, right, and center on the road.
Which are illegal, apparently.
Of course, they're illegal.
Yeah.
And they've been there for so long. And they pass police officers, and you can clearly see that this is not
a security vehicle.
Why the crackdown now?
It has realized that there's become plenty on the road.
Or is it because schools are opening?
So we need money.
Yes.
For school fees or?
Yes. Toll stations and their opening and their shutting are very directly be correlated to the opening of schools. Yes.
So this is just a toll station because...
yeah, I mean, all this time, it's not as though these cars suddenly appeared on the road yesterday.
Yeah, and there are many.
For the longest time. Yes. Or it's not as though there's some other road that a vehicle with such number plates ply and that other vehicles don't ply. No. Why now?
Yeah, it's true. And it's exposing a lot of things that are happening here. It's about enforcement. So there's NTSA and then there's the police and the traffic police. How is it that you have so many vehicles on the road with these modified number plates?
Yes, but also what is being reported again is that now police are cracking down on people who are violating COVID regulations, especially in the transportation. Yesterday, I decided to take a bus.
Bus like bus?
Bus, as in
like
Kenya
a Kenya bus?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't Kenya bus.
It was a matatu.
No, it was a bus.
Bus.
Yes, bus.
In this city?
In this city. Yes, it's a purple colored bus. I don't know what they're called.
How long is it? Those long ones?
Yes, the long
Like
ones.
the loaf of bread?
Yes, it was like the loaf of bread. Yes. From the center of town. And what I noted with interest was social distancing.
Right.
Now, I wasn't sure whether this was because at the hour I was taking the bus, they want sufficient passengers. But I sat alone on that chair, and many other people also sat, because I looked. A two-seater capacity, one person sitting. There's only the people who were next to me across the aisle where I saw two people sitting. But everybody had a mask on.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yes, everyone.
Were you sitting like sardines? No.
No. I was
proper distancing.
So there was space. Okay.
It's only one seat that I noticed that there were two people sitting on the seat. Okay? But then I thought, but this isn't any different from boarding a plane, because if you board a plane, you'll be sitting exactly the way you were sitting before. But they will tell you they fumigated it. They've done everything that is necessary to ensure that whatever virus may be lingering,
coughs,
it doesn't really matter. Yes.
Because you're in a pressurized cabin, such
Yes.
things.
So I did see this. Because of my height, boarding a matatu can be a bit of a challenge.
Okay.
Yes. The bending, the crouching, and then the seat capacity. You more or less have to sit in a posture that by the time you are light, you suddenly find you have serious back problems.
That's an interesting picture you're painting for me right now.
Okay. The multicolors are working. Huh?
I like it.
Okay. So I just thought I would mention this. Now, if indeed the security force, the police want to enforce COVID rules, they can.
It's possible. It's possible.
They can. They can.
Hey, all right.
So when they haven't been doing it, that's the issue.
Yes, but you see, I am aligning the discussion with what we are seeing now as a clampdown on these number-plated cars, these fancy number-plated cars, which also tend to be fancy vehicles as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they are now clamping down. It's a good thing that they're clamping down on people who are abrogating the COVID rules. But again, why now?
Why now? Okay.
So let's take a break then at this point, okay? And as we take this break, remind you about the GenerationNextChallenge.com website, GenerationNextChallenge.com. This is the platform that gives you access to the Kenya National Challenge, which is one that empowers students in kindergarten through 11th grade to acquire a deeper understanding of math, computer sciences, robotics, sharpening their computational skills, and nurturing their creative abilities by connecting math to real life. What's the challenge? It has a number of things. It has a curriculum-aligned math, innovative virtual robotics, mitigating COVID learning loss, design and systems thinking, community building, experiential learning, and they'll have a number of challenges at the end of which, well, they'll be able to win some scholarships that give them access to Global Innovation Challenge. These are the scholarships. Top 25 students per grade will receive a scholarship for the Global Innovation Challenge and the Global Innovation Bootcamps. That is GenerationNextChallenge.com. Register your child there.
SpiceFM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Right, 14 to 7. So what's the headline in the Business Daily?
Headline in the Business Daily.
Shock.
Yes, not only shock, it is we told you so. Meaning we, the three of us, told you so. Petrol prices hit historic high today. Remember the story of it going down? Myth. Reality. Right. Energy. More pain as regulator expects the to raise petrol 127.11 per litre in Nairobi. However, there's a solid reason behind this. Okay. From midnight today, the increase to this is the highest level in the history of Kenya that fuel prices have risen to. Okay. I wonder which history they're talking about. Anyway, one of the things that has actually happened is this.
It's okay. Slowly, City. Small.
Yeah. Okay. They're saying that crude prices are rising. Okay. Now, everyone knows the sequential effects of that.
Yeah.
Fuel prices rise, crude prices rise.
Yeah.
The end product, which is now the petrol, prices rise.
Right.
As a result.
Yes. Transport costs rise. As a result, anything that has to be ferried using vehicles, the cost of it rises. But the thing that I find particularly disturbing is this. If you carefully examine the issue of energy in this country, one has to actually discuss in all seriousness the relationship that we have with our manufacturers, the cost of manufacturing, and what is passed on to us as consumers.
Right.
Because manufacturers will bargain and get concessions from the government with regards to the cost of energy, okay? That cost is never passed on to us. In fact, the net result that one sees is that costs go up. They benefit from it, but we do not benefit directly. This fuel thing is not difficult to understand. You can even say this is not something within our purview. It isn't within our control. It's very... But against a backdrop of even when fuel prices were low, you were given a reason as to why the cost of fuel should go up. And yet, fuel prices around the world had plummeted to almost zero. Now, this is where someone like myself, a simple citizen of this country, gets a bit confused. So, fuel prices go down in the world. Here, our fuel prices go up. Crude, rather.
Crude goes up, fuel prices go... Crude goes down, fuel prices
go up in
here.
this country. Okay, fine. We've been told they're taxed and everything. We get that also, but it goes up, all right? Surely, even if the taxes go up, shouldn't there be even the slightest reduction?
Something, somewhere.
I mean, surely. Can we also not see that, yes, there's been a shift? I think... Even as we talk about industries and we talk about business, all right? To understand this, ask yourself a simple question. People who are in the manufacturing business, people who are in the production business, people who own these big businesses, since COVID struck and since all these problems arose, have they become poorer or have they become richer?
Well, there's definitely folks who've gotten a lot richer since COVID has struck.
Yes.
Opportunity for many.
Many people have been able to pick at the opportunity.
But you know why I was heeing and hawing about this? This is an upward spiraling problem, and it doesn't seem to come to an end. And I personally have been totally confused by the logic that I keep reading and hearing about these things.
That everything happens for a reason. Now, if you expect that these things are going to change in terms of, even the government looking at how much it's making in terms of revenue per litre of petrol, forget it. Our new boss who's in charge of our finances, and this is the International Monetary Fund, has approved for us to go and borrow money from Eurobond. And this is 248 billion shillings that we are now going to take from in terms of a Eurobond. And it has come up with projects where they have said these 51 projects are the ones that you're going to finance with this money coming from Eurobond. Okay? So it's not our parliament that is determining. It is not our national treasury. It is the IMF that is sitting and saying yes. Steps aimed at preventing a repeat of the opaque spending of the previous Eurobond loan. The government will be required to spend the money on high-yielding projects aimed at spurring growth and reducing poverty. Any attempt to spend the money on other items, the IMF has warned Kenya, could lead to the termination of the loan program that's aimed at improving the country's deteriorating fiscal position. So basically, the big boy has come and told us, all right, so we've given you that cut, 200 and how many billions?
57.
257 billion. With that, they got a seat at the table. So how much more do you want to borrow? We want to borrow some from who? From Eurobond. Okay, so where are you going to spend it? They review, they say, sour. We've approved this 51 projects. If you spend
so much as...
Don't even think about using this money to pay your other loans.
Mandazi na hii pesa. Mandazi moja.
We are Peter. Don't pay Paul.
Mutaniona. So what are those 51 projects that have been... So a number of them, 3 of them in wildlife conservation, tourism, 7 of them in universal health coverage, that is including establishing regional cancer centers, free maternity and hiring medical equipment. 1 project on improving access to justice, that's expansion of courts. Improvement of infrastructure, there'll be 4 projects, and these are mega projects, including some money going to LAPSET. 4 projects improving housing, planning and infrastructure. That includes construction of affordable housing units, markets and fire stations. 1 project on correctional facilities. Access to universal information, including digital learning and e-government services. Agriculture production and management, that's food security projects, loans for MSMEs in manufacturing. Expansion of infrastructure in primary and secondary schools. National grid and rural electrification projects. Digitization of land registries, irrigation and drainage. That's where 248 billion shillings is meant to go. While that is happening, some dormant projects are going to be axed, and these are 157 dormant projects that are going to be shelved. Now, these ones, forget about it.
Sorry, I have a question. Dormant meaning they started some work on them and then they were left?
Started some projects, it became a white elephant. They're like... This one is not even going to spur economic growth.
For example, the Kenya National Examination Council headquarters that has been built for God knows how many decades.
For like a couple of decades.
So that one now also comes to...
that one now pause for a while.
It's over. Yes, for example.
Yeah, just as an example.
Okay.
Yep. So
even those dams that were supposed to be built, those ones also come to a halt.
There are very many projects that are incomplete.
Read a few.
They are not mentioned here, but we know like Itare Dam, like now that you mentioned dams, Itare Dam, and then 1,356 projects valued at 4.9 trillion shillings were incomplete by the end of June 2019, and this is an analysis done by the Standard. Of these, 91%, that's valued at 3 trillion shillings, need to be completed before Uhuru leaves office next year. Those are 1,230 projects that should be finished
in the next
1.5
year.
years. In other words, 9 out of every 10 of Jubilee projects should be completed. Otherwise, kitaumana. Almost half of the incomplete projects, that's 536, are running behind schedule. Most of these fall under one ministry, that giant Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works.
Does employment come under there also?
Everything, including hata ukitaka pesa kidogo, it's under this ministry.
Can I ask a question? Is there a list of projects that have actually been completed?
Well, honestly, I want to know that we started this one, it finished and it's working, functioning.
Just
one.
For example.
Don't tell me SGR. Just
why not?
Something else.
But
Give
it's
me something
complete.
Else. Give me something else.
SGR is not complete.
From Nairobi to
No.
From Mombasa
it's not complete.
You're at pains to find one, aren't you?
What projects?
I want another
I'm sure
one.
there are many. The Outer Ring Road is complete, isn't it? Haven't you seen people using Outer Ring Road? ICD Road here. You just talk about it every morning. Now it's complete.
Right.
Is that not complete?
It's complete. You're right.
Yeah, then
Actually,
what are you talking about?
You're right.
There are many projects.
Forgive me, sir.
You know, you've
the
just
Northern Collector Tunnel. That's going to be bringing more water to Nairobi.
Complete.
That's complete.
Okay, where is it situated? This
somewhere in the northern hemisphere.
Who has seen the completion?
Folks who reside in that area.
Have pictures been taken?
Pictures?
Evidence.
The evidence of completion of this project is more water in Nairobi. But you wait. We wait for it to rain.
The more water. Nairobi always had more water.
Northern Collector Tunnel is excess rainfall. Falls in the highlands of central Kenya. And then instead of it flooding and going to destroy farms, it's collected in some certain ways. And that extra...
So they're building dams,
extra water. No, it's just collected. The extra water now falls off the river and then gets into this tunnel and it comes. Tap, open, water.
Flowing. Okay.
That's how it works.
So if you want to see that project working.
Those taps were working long before that collector tunnel was ever imagined. So you're telling me that because the population of Nairobi increased tremendously, then over time, what previously had been there, and we're supposed to ignore the cartels that have infiltrated and have actually secured themselves a safe place in the supply of water in this town. We've always had water. It is possible that this collector tunnel has been finished. It is also possible that very many other projects have been completed. Now, those who did not want us to get this loan, I think their wishes have actually been complied with or two. You know why? The accountability that they were talking about has arrived.
It must come through because in this case, they're saying, okay, we've given you more money.
Yes.
You will. I think one of the things is you will not pay existing loans with this money. You will actually develop and you will actually support the budget, whereby there was a deficit because of other things. Some of that money can go towards that, some of these projects that we're looking at right now. But then in terms of accountability, you will then tell us what you use the money for. We will actually see. You will give us current reports about how things are. It will be very interesting to see.
You know what I find strange, though, is this reluctance of the government to actually explain things which can actually, in my mind, be easily explained. Yes. But there's a reluctance which borders on complete refusal. And when that arises, then all the naysayers and all the conspiracy theories are then given fuel. And boy, do they burn that fuel.
Do they?
Yes.
So,
big time. Okay, in a minute.
My goodness. So, Kivuta Kivana is not very liked right now in Makueni because they're angry with him because he has ordered the freezing of their allowances totaling to 29 million shillings.
Who are these? MCAs?
MCAs in Makueni County.
Right.
They applied for 18 million on February 22 and another 10 million on March 1st for the allowances, but they wrote to them telling them that the requisition has then been withdrawn. This was after Kibwana raised the red flag on the amount requested because he's asking, hold on a minute, what's this money for? And so he said that he took the decision because the devolved government cannot afford the allowances, especially as Kenya battles the third wave of the pandemic. While requesting for funds, ensure supporting schedules indicate venues and the number of days a beneficiary is paid. If he's saying that means they had not included that in the first place. This will facilitate the processing of the requests after addressing salaries and pending payments for suppliers. So don't just come and give us papers. You're not telling us the reasons as to why we're paying you this money. So money not coming, forget about it. Equals MCAs, Makueni, angry with the boss.
They have a good reason.
They were expecting this money.
Yes.
Money.
This man doesn't remember the next year is a campaign season.
How on earth does that even apply to him?
Don't care. He's saying now there's COVID.
He should remember.
Can't just be using money anyhow.
Next year is campaign season bana. Nafikiri hiyo campaign pesa itatoka wapi? Hata wewe mwenyewe unataka kuwa president. This man is out of touch with reality. Makueni MCAs need to remind him, point it out to him nicely.
Now they're annoyed.
Like they're doing. Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. So, in the next hour, let's talk about what we should expect of our next Chief Justice. We'll be speaking with a constitutional lawyer. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
All right, what are we looking at this morning, guys? It's slow around the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Folks are not going to be able to use it coming from Mombasa Road. People who have then connected from Upper Hill, from Aerodrome Road, then it slows down a little bit as you're getting onto Uhuru Highway and into the city. So that's going to take some time. But many people using the new road at coming from the ICD. leads you to the Southern Bypass. Southern Bypass then into the city is much quicker than sitting on Mombasa Road hoping for a miracle to happen. It's not going to happen, at least not quickly this morning, that's for sure. Coming off Jogger Road into the city also is quite slow. Using Landis Road specifically, also coming from industrial area, it's a little bit of a, sandwich there, but shouldn't last for too long. Coming off of Thika Road, the star of the roads this week, looking pretty good as well. Kiambu Road, not as packed as we normally would expect. Hopefully it stays that way for some more time. Coming in from Westlands, visibility is a little bit poor today. Need to watch out for that one. Red Hill bypass looking pretty good, as is the northern and eastern bypasses this morning. Let's remind you one more time, KFS tells us 3 ferries up for use this morning in Mombasa. Star 712 hash is what you need to do to pay your ferry toll. Do not use cash because you'll be turned back and then we'll have traffic and then we'll not be happy. It'll be a bad day. Okay? SpiceFM KE, talk to us if you get stuck somewhere in your neck of the woods. What does it look like? Can we get a good route? Tell us about it. Also text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not
2
down.
minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the second hour of the show. We are here until 10 a.m. and we are now live on KTN Home for the next 2 hours. In addition to being live on SpiceFM around the country and globally on www.spicefm.co.ke, as well as SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. CT, let's begin with the day's proverb.
Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to go through the rough, choppy waters.
Yes.
To gain the experience required.
Mm-hmm. The seasickness-inducing waters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are the ones which now prepare you, toughen you for the reality of being in the seas.
Get stuck in the Suez Canal.
Yep.
Get stuck, seek help, get pulled out. Yes, that's where you've now become one of the best sailors in the world.
Yes.
Those smooth seas will actually maybe inform the commissioners in the Judicial Service Commission on who they pick to become the next Chief Justice. Is it somebody who's gone through fire, hell, brimstone? Is it somebody who has gone through an easy time? Is any of these candidates who's actually been shortlisted for interviews for the position of Chief Justice a softie, so to speak? We have 10 candidates for position of Chief Justice. Justice Chitembwe Said Juma. We have Professor Kameri Mbote, who was interviewed yesterday. Today, the Lady Justice Martha Koome will be interviewed. Then we'll have Justice Marete Njagi will be interviewed tomorrow. Then we have Philip Murgo. Then Justice Dumanderi, Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia. Then we have the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice William Ouko. Then we have Professor Dr. Moni Wekesa. And Alice Jepkoech Yano will be the last to be interviewed on Friday the 23rd. These are candidates that are there that want to become the head of the third arm of government, and this is the judiciary. There will be Chief Justice of the Republic and President of the Supreme Court. What is it that the Judicial Service Commissioners will be looking for? What is it that the Kenyans should be expecting of the next Chief Justice?
Does the Constitution give us any assistance in this quest?
It does.
Yes.
Indeed.
And with clarity, or is it one of these ambiguous legal things that there has to be a back and forth before it's actually fully understood?
Maybe it's one of those that, it depends on your interpretation of the Constitution. I don't know. We'll speak to a constitutional lawyer. His name is Waikwa Wanyoike, who joins us now on the line. Waikwa, very good morning to you, and thank you very much for speaking to us. Hello.
Hello, Eric.
Good morning to you, Waikwa. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.
So the first question, in fact, Waikwa, you've written about this. You have written on what the Constitution expects or demands of the Chief Justice. And that's the same question that CT has basically just asked. What is it that the Constitution demands of the Chief Justice? Does it tell us the kind of character, then, that should become a Chief Justice?
Yes. There's no question that the Constitution has already provided sort of what you would call a roadmap or specific expectations for the person who wants to be Chief Justice. So that's one. And we also have the Judicial Service Act, which actually has very, very specific information about what qualities you need for a judge. But I just want to make it very clear that there is sort of a difference between the qualities you need for a Chief Justice and the qualities you need for the judge of the Supreme Court. Remember, we are having two recruitments running consecutively. And so there is a significant distinction. And the other thing I would want to underscore is that you cannot divorce the qualities expected from the moment we are in. So there are also qualities demanded of a Chief Justice based on the moment we are in.
What moment is that?
The moment we're in is the moment where we have seen continuous violation of the Constitution, especially by the executive, where we've seen disregard of the Constitution, including by Parliament, weakening of institutions, constant and endless attack of the judiciary and judges, and again, especially by the executive. So it's a moment, I would say, and I think you were using very good sort of metaphors about the ocean and the turbulence. It's a moment of constitutional and institutional turbulence. So it really demands that whoever you put in that position be ready to deal with the vagaries that come with it. But maybe, if I may, Eric, let me just first of all go to the Constitution. And the first thing is, I think it's important for people to remember that our Constitution, after our Constitution change in 2010, there was a very big difference between the judiciary that the Constitution created in 2010 from the judiciary we had before. The judiciary we had before was mostly a department of government. All the way it operated, it was a department within the executive. The judiciary we have now under the Constitution is a very, very powerful judiciary. Remember, it's the only institution that has the ultimate power to question decisions and actions of every arm of government and everybody who is exercising public power, and in a lot of cases also private power. So we are talking about an institution that is extremely powerful, and all these contestations that you've been seeing arise from that. So that's the starting point. And so the person you're bringing into office as Chief Justice will be an extremely, or is expected to be an extremely powerful, or it's an extremely powerful position. So you want a person who fits that stature. And this is why you see it becoming so contested.
Waikwa, among some of the things that you wrote, an article that you wrote that we can refer to most recently, you said that it has to be an individual, then even alongside what the Constitution says, it has to be an individual then who is not going to essentially take things sitting down. Has to be somebody who then is powerful in character as well as confidence. Could you explain that a little bit further? Against what the Constitution requires, what kind of personality this person is going to have?
So in my own estimation, there are a few things that the person has to have. So the first one is they need to be visionary and transformational. You're not coming in to be a manager in the judiciary. You're coming in to be a leader. And that is extremely, extremely important. If you don't come in with a vision, a concrete vision, if you don't come in ready to transform, then this is not the job for you. And one may ask, transform from what? And in fact, I've had that question asked to some of the candidates. It's transformation that the Constitution 2010 set up for us, part of which has been happening, but a lot of it has been stalled, especially by political actors. So that's the first thing. And that transformation starts with the need to make Kenya a constitutional democracy and to instill constitutionalism, or what we would basically call the rule of law, that everybody should be able to obey the law. The second thing is to have what I would refer to as clarity of purpose. What is your purpose as Chief Justice? What is it that you want to achieve? Not, and this is important, a lot of us may think Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary. No, Chief Justice is actually, the position is bigger than head of judiciary. It's a national leader. And so if you don't come with that, if you come with a very parochial or very small-minded attitude that you're coming to head the judiciary, but you don't see yourself as a national and to a large extent also international leader, then I doubt that you're the best candidate for that. Then the third issue is courage. And courage is connected with what I was talking about. We've seen what Justice Maraga has just gone through, being barraged all the time, harassed, and all manner of harassment, being challenged right, left, center. We've seen the judiciary threatened, including sometimes death threats. If you don't bring this courage to this job, and not just courage for a few days, this is not a job for a summer soldier, or what Loma Spain called Sunshine Patriot. You have to come with a full tank. If you are coming to serve for the maximum 10 years that's allowed under the Constitution, you bring a 10-year full tank of courage. You don't bring a 6-month tank of courage. There is integrity, because if you're coming to tell people these are the standards that the society has to live by, and you don't bring integrity yourself, then it's questionable how much moral authority you'll be able to assert, both within the judiciary and nationally. And I would want to discuss separately intellectual leadership. Remember, the Chief Justice has a number of formal roles. So the main one is obviously being the head of the judiciary. The second, probably most critical, is head or president of the Supreme Court. That calls for certain attributes which are different, slightly different from the attributes of Chief Justice. And top of that is intellectual leadership.
Is this individual essentially a game changer? I mean, we're looking at the judiciary and the different things that have plagued it in this country for so long, right? So, I mean, yes, as head of the judiciary, is this individual then somebody who can be seen then even as somebody with a reform agenda, agenda reformist to come in and then change the way judiciary business is essentially done in the country?
Yes, Of course, they have to have their own agenda. They have to be ready to be transformative. But in relation to the judiciary, one thing I think Kenyans should be able to acknowledge is if there is one institution that has really tried hard to live by the ethos, or at least try to emulate what is required of the Constitution, it's the judiciary. Judiciary actually has been in the forefront in a lot of things, whether it's institutional transformation, whether it's judges and magistrates bringing themselves up to speed and trying to be very good judges, writing good judgments, whether it's issues of work ethics. And I would want to sit here for a minute and talk about work ethics and the judiciary. And it's important to give numbers. If you go to the Constitution and Human Rights Division of the High Court in Milimani, which is where I mostly practice, every year the court gets about 400 petitions every year. That is work given to 2, sometimes when you're lucky like now, 3 judges. Every one of those cases will have probably 2 or 3 applications. And these judges sit, hear them, go read, write judgment, and write rulings. Compare that to Parliament, for example. How many bills passes in Parliament every year? How many members of Parliament ever introduce a member's bill, right? So when you think about the amount of work that the judiciary has been doing, it's actually quite impressive. Yes, we still have backlogs. Yes, we still have issues of access to justice. But we also have serious problems in terms of underfunding of the judiciary, in terms of the personnel capacity. So yes, those are some of the issues that the Chief Justice or the new Chief Justice will have to address. They are issues that Justice Mutunga started with and did quite a fair bit. Justice Maraga did very, very well on them, but they still need to be addressed at an institutional level, even before now you get into the national issues. And maybe, if I may do, because I think it's important, let's talk about, for example, budgets. Judiciary, despite being one of the most critical arms of government, is still extremely underfunded. Let me just explain this. When just before the 2010 Constitution came to place, the judiciary budget was oscillated somewhere around 3 billion per year. When Mutunga came in, he was very lucky, and they worked very hard and got the judiciary budget moved up to 17 billion. That is around 2013, when the national budget was about 1.4 trillion. Since 2013, the judiciary budget has remained 17 billion. The judiciary budget for this year is 17 billion. What is our budget for this year? 2.7 trillion. Compare it with Parliament. When Parliament, in 2013, the budget that was given to Parliament was about 18 billion. Today, Parliament has a 40 billion budget. So Parliament has seen a jump 3 times of its budget, not the judiciary. The judiciary budget actually has stagnated when you put all the financial factors that you can you put into these things, including the power of purchasing. So there's quite a lot of work to be done at the institutional level, especially in terms of strengthening the judiciary itself. But there is also national work to be done in terms of fostering the rule of law that the new Chief Justice will have to deal with.
Mr. Wanyeko, there's something you mentioned, and I would like you to assist me in understanding it. You alluded to something that I'm going to refer to as personal integrity. How on earth do you quantify this, and how do you determine this in a candidate, someone who wants to be the Chief Justice of this country?
Personal integrity, actually, Yeah, it's a very good question, because how do you measure that? And what calibration do you use to measure integrity? It really has to do with your past record. It has to do with what you are able to bring on how you've conducted yourself over the years. And for lawyers, for example, their professional ethics that govern them in the profession, that is not enough, because actually we are very, very formalistic when it comes to ethics. And I have to say, even our standards of enforcement of ethics is not the highest at a professional level. So that can't be the only measure, that the fact that you don't have any complaint that has ever been filed against you as a lawyer or as a judge, that means you have integrity. It's really at a personal level. What do your neighbors say? What do people who you work with or who have worked with you say? And that is not just the people you answer to, but also people who answer to you, the most vulnerable person who has ever worked with you. What would they say if they were asked by a person when they know that nothing is at stake for them about how you conduct yourself? That is the best way to measure integrity. If you look at countries which take integrity very seriously, and when it comes to recruitment of judges, and for example, positions like this, what they do is they will actually do significant research on a candidate, not through an NSIS, which might be more interested about whether you are politically malleable, as opposed to whether you have integrity. You don't conduct this using the national intelligence, which is mostly there just to protect the political leadership. You use credible people, so that people go to your village, they hear what people say about you, they talk to somebody you've ever employed, maybe as somebody to help at home, who would be probably the most vulnerable, where you would be extracting the most power, and not just look at how you conduct yourself, how expensive the suits you wear are, or what brand of suit. That's not the measure. So there's a way to do this, and people have done it. And yes, it's not foolproof. It can never be foolproof. And integrity is both a past issue, but also a future issue. How do you conduct yourself once you've gained this significant power as Chief Justice? But there's ways to be able to tell whether the person might live up to the standards.
Waiko Wanyoike is a constitutional lawyer. He's speaking to us this morning from London, the UK. We are talking about what the Constitution demands of a Chief Justice, as we observe and as we see the Judicial Service Commission interviewing 10 candidates for position of Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, and then after that they'll interview candidates for position of Judge of the Supreme Court. What should we expect of the next Chief Justice? Let's take a break at 24 minutes after 7, and when we come back we continue with this conversation. And as we do that, have you logged on to jobs.standardmedia.co.ke? There are many jobs that have been advertised there. Operations and Technical Manager is one of those jobs. Operations and Technical Manager, they have 1 day to go. Center for Public Health and Development, and also another limited company that's also there. Are you a consultant? You could apply for this job to support implementation of COVID-19 vaccine rollout in Kenya. The World Health Organization is looking for you. Also, there's a job on consultancy on event coordination and management, and also call for proposals for facilitating qualitative research methods and analysis by the Kenya Red Cross Society. Very many jobs. Jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. You can also subscribe, and you'll be getting job alerts that favor you to your email or SMS. We'll be back shortly. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, on SpiceFM, KTN Home, and online.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a milli. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 2 hash to read the Nairobian e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line and stay up to date, the hottest talk of town with no additional charges.
We've been all through it, you know. We go to school, study hard, get the much-deserved grades and celebrate our graduation. Then reality hits us. We get to the job market and we simply don't know where to start off. Thankfully, by visiting jobs.standardmedia.co.ke, your next career breakthrough could be a click away. Get the best in career advice, employment opportunities, internships, part-time jobs, CV writing and interview coaching. Give your career the much-needed lift on jobs.standardmedia.co.ke.
It's mostly cloudy in Nairobi this morning. We'll see lows of 17 today, lows of highs of 25. Sunny in Nyeri at 15, highs of 24, lows of 13. 26 will be the high in Nakuru, where it's partly sunny at 15. 14 degrees and mostly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 25. Highs of 27 in Kisumu, mostly cloudy at 19. It's raining in Kakamega at 18. The lows will be 16, highs of 27. Highs of 32 in Mombasa, it's mostly sunny at 26. And sunny conditions in Malindi at 27, highs of 31, lows of 26. It's also sunny in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 19. It's raining in Dar es Salaam now, highs of 28 and lows of 24. Today 27 is what will be the high in Johannesburg, clear at 17. Mostly clear conditions in Lagos this morning, rising up to 33 today. It'll go to highs of 32 in Kinshasa. It's mostly cloudy there now at 23. That will also be the low for today.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Okay, folks, the crackdown by NTSA continues today. Do you have an illegal number plate? You might want to watch out for that. It's also causing jam in some parts because they're sticking to watching where this might be happening. And so it slows down things in some parts. Okay, let's look at what's going on Mombasa Road today. Outbound, it slows down some right around Cabanas and then trying to get onto the interchange and then moving towards General Motors. After that, it opens up a little bit. Folks using the IDC route, which is good. You join the Southern Bypass and get that as a way to get into the CBD. So traffic is not too terrible this morning. It's looking pretty good. Coming off Thika Road, excellent. Wangari Maathai Road into the city, fantastic. What other adjectives can we use? We'll see in a bit. SpiceFM KE is how you can talk to us on Twitter, just in case you get stuck or you find a good route that nobody knows about. Share that, won't you? Text us as well on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings done right.
It's 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation
Nairobi.
Room, Spice FM, KTN Home Online. You have CT Muga, Nduoko, Eric Latif with you. And on the line joining us is constitutional lawyer Waikwa Wanyoike. Who shall I choose among these 10 to become the next Chief Justice? That's a question that the Judicial Service Commission and Parliament and then the President will be asking themselves. We have Justice Said Juma Chitembwe, Professor Patricia Kameri-Mbote, Justice Martha Koome, Justice Marete Njage, Philip Murgo, lawyer, senior counsel, Justice Dumanderi, senior counsel Fred Ngatia, Justice William Ouko, Professor Dr. Moni Wekesa, and Alice Chepkoech Yano, who among this will be the next Chief Justice. What is it that's expected of the next Chief Justice? And that's what our constitutional lawyer is having a conversation with us about this morning. You mentioned a number of things, Waikwa, about what you see as the key pillars of a good Chief Justice, somebody who's visionary and transformational, somebody with clarity of purpose, courage, integrity, intellectual leadership, and also that's intellectual leadership when it comes to being the president of the Supreme Court, when it becomes your court, the Mutunga Court, the Maraga Court, the next court, whoever it's going to be, Ouko Court or whatever. Who is it going to be and how shall they be? On the issue of clarity of purpose, he said that this person has got to be very clear that they are not just the head of a judiciary, but they are a national and in some cases international leader. They know that they are heading an institution that requires to be recognized and respected, and will interact with very many others. And I think this is a very critical one for me if I look at it. Like you said, over the years, the judiciary has not been well funded. The full operationalization of the judiciary fund has not happened. The constant, rubbing of shoulders and knuckles, and in very many cases, bare knuckles, between the judiciary and the other two arms of government will require somebody who can navigate these choppy waters very well. Now, the purpose with the person with clarity of purpose, there are very many instances where people have said they want somebody who is fiery, who fights, who gets into the mud and screams and bites and does everything. Is that necessarily it, or do we need just somebody who is very diplomatic in how they handle things?
It's not about being fiery. It's not about a show. It's not about drama. That's not what you bring as a head of the judiciary. And maybe I should add, related to the clarity of purpose, is you have to be politically astute. When you head an arm of government, but also you are a national leader, you have to know how to navigate the political and other terrains every day. So, for example, now we've had this standoff between the judiciary and the executive on the appointment of the 41 judges, now 40 judges, since July 2019. How do you navigate that? But how do you navigate that without compromising the independence of the judiciary? How do you navigate that without compromising the Constitution? The quick and easy way is to say, I'll negotiate with the executive and see what they say. Yes, of course you have to talk to the executive. I'm not sure you negotiate with the executive because it's a constitutional edict or requirement, but it's how you go about it. How do you get that unstuck? How do you do that without being seen to bend backwards too much and making the judiciary look fickle? How do you negotiate around issues of disobedience of court orders, including by the president, who's become the biggest when it comes to disobedience of court orders? How do you do that? Or how do you ensure that you are instilling rule of law when it seems like even the Attorney General or the Office of the Attorney General is not necessarily supporting you in your quest for instilling the rule of law, and especially when it comes to court orders. And yet you have to be working with all these institutions every day.
Let me ask you this question, sir, if I may. Yeah?
Yes.
In the list of qualities that we are talking about and hoping and presuming would be embedded in this particular personality who could be our Chief Justice, where in the order of things, is there a priority for people's skills? Because I'm listening to you talking, and that's why I had to interrupt you. There is need for somebody who actually has people skills, because to be able to navigate through these things, it's not just a question of knowing the law and being able to state it. No. But being able to get people to see your point of view so that they actually side with you when they need to.
Yes. In fact, when I started, I said there's a distinction between the qualities you need in a Chief Justice and the qualities you need in a judge of the Supreme Court. A judge of the Supreme Court can be somebody who is happy to lock themselves into a room and just read volumes and volumes of book, and occasionally go and sit in court and ask a few questions, and then retreat back into their room, and that is mostly fine. And you can't do that as Chief Justice. You're everywhere. You have to interact with people you like. You have to interact with people you don't like. You have to interact with people who you know are working day and night to stall whatever you're working on, or to just undermine, but you still have to work with them. In fact, one of the qualities that you must have is the quality of self-esteem, because that's what actually allows you to stay on your mission and not feel belittled, and not be too concerned about how people carry themselves, but you are able to focus and push your agenda. So, but at the same time, you are also heading, I think the judiciary has at least about 5,000, if not more, staff. And you have to inspire them. You have to create or foster a culture in that space. So if, again, you don't have people skills, including how you develop an institutional culture and how you encourage people to be ethical, to be productive, this is not a job for you again. And if I may, because I say there is a distinction between Chief Justice and the Supreme Court. Again, Chief Justice is the head of the Supreme Court. Our Supreme Court has two problems at the moment. The first one is, and we've had a bit of this during the interview, is that people still believe, and I think it's a true belief, that our Supreme Court has not become authoritative enough. And Supreme Court becomes authoritative based on the kind of jurisprudence they are able to churn out and how respected that jurisprudence is, not just in Kenya, but regionally and globally. That's why all of us talk about the Constitutional Court of South Africa, because their jurisprudence is not just consumed in South Africa, it's consumed everywhere in the world. You see it being cited in cases in the United States, in Canada, in almost every country. We've not done very well on that, and that is one of the challenges that the Chief Justice has to deal with. How do you make that court authoritative? How do you make it consistent? How do you make it respected? That's one. The second thing, which is also tied to the authority and credibility of the Supreme Court, our Supreme Court, and we may want to bury this in the sand, is not constitutionally compliant. It's still not two-thirds gender compliant. And whether the Judicial Service Commission achieves that through the appointment of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court judge, I would say they are lucky. They have two positions they can use to be able to comply with that. And that, the fact that the Supreme Court itself has a problem in terms of its own compliance with the Constitution, it's problematic. And that will have to cascade down even to other positions, whether it's Court of Appeal, High Court, magistrates. Luckily, I think those other courts are doing much, much better than
this particular
the Supreme Court.
You know, when I listen to you speak, Waiko, and even looking at what has been said before, yes, a Supreme Court that stands out to be counted, the Supreme Court whose decisions and jurisprudence is actually going to be quoted and will go down in the annals of history. And then on the other hand, the character that's required of the person who is the political and administrative head of the judiciary, chair of the Judicial Service Commission, president of the Supreme Court, and Chief Justice, I get a feeling we stand to lose the qualities of one and gain the qualities of the other. Those two may not necessarily go hand in hand. That somebody who is going to make sure that they lead their court in a way that delivers a kind of jurisprudence that we are talking about, while at the same time playing the political game of managing this institution with all the judicial officers and other people who work in it and their relations with the other arms of government. Do you think maybe, and this is just off the wall here, that there could be an opportunity, maybe even in future, to separate those two? So the head of the judiciary is not necessarily the president of the Supreme Court.
Yes, we can wish what could be done in the future. And yes, I agree with you, Eric. It's a very heavy job. We forget, actually, there's another responsibility that the Chief Justice has. He or she is the chair of the National Council on Administration of Justice. So the work is a lot. But we have to work with what we have. We won't be amending the Constitution, so all these jobs will remain to be jobs of the Chief Justice, at least in the foreseeable future. So then how do you make sure that you get a person who is not shortchanging any of those? And for me, it just comes down to leadership. Think about it. If you have a good, credible leader and somebody who is clear on their purpose, who is visionary, and thinking about them as the president of the Supreme Court. Remember, the Chief Justice doesn't do all the work, all the writing in the Supreme Court. What you need to provide there is leadership. It's not that our judges at the Supreme Court are not good judges. They are good judges. Maybe what is required there is just clarity. And so if you bring leadership to that space, maybe everything changes. But you also have to bring the respect, because if the other judges, whether it's at the Supreme Court or other courts, don't respect you, then it's hard to even lead or to be authoritative. So it's the package of leadership and the package of personal characteristic that you bring to the job that will make you either successful or not successful.
It seems that this individual, regardless of who they are, Waiko, I mean, with some of the things that you've mentioned, that there are already existing barriers to how well this person will be able to perform. Some of the things that you talked about, that you can't really talk about full independence of the judiciary because they don't control the purse strings, first of all. Secondly, you're saying you're dealing with an executive that doesn't obey court orders and things like that. That is already something that has been set, it has been witnessed by their predecessor. It doesn't, so it seems as though some of these characteristics or traits or strong gait that this individual must have, really, they would already be met by some pre-existing hurdles to be able to expend their duties properly. How do you think that this would change? Would this be an individual who would then be able to come in and change some of these things that we see? Demand for some of the things that ought to happen? Proper funding of the judiciary, demand for other things that they feel need to happen according to law, reigning in the executive, for example. Do you think those are things that could happen in the next tenure, in the future tenure of Chief Justices in Kenya?
Yeah, and those are the things that excite visionary leaders. Challenges are what actually molds leaders. It's tough, but not insurmountable. And the lucky thing is actually the judiciary has a lot of tools to be able to undertake or to make sure that this happens. Some of those tools is the judges, for example. We know that we have very, very good judges, especially at the level of the High Court. We have quite a number of judges at the High Court who are very, very courageous, but also very intellectually deep. And so, and we know that one way that you reform or transform a country is by making sure that the judiciary gets engaged and sees its power as power not just to resolve disputes and the judge goes home, but a power that allows it to map out what is the role of the judiciary in transforming society. Think about it, for example. For a Kenyan out there who is not a lawyer, who doesn't interact with the judiciary every day, what do they want from the judiciary? Or what would they expect that the judiciary does for them? They care more about how does the judiciary function in a way that advances their socioeconomic welfare. What happens, for example, when they go home? Should they go home worrying that somebody is going to come and demolish their house in the middle of the night? Because after all, if you get court orders, those court orders will not be respected. And so for a person like that, the best way for judges to be able to assist them is to think about creative ways to force a recalcitrant executive from not violating court orders, making it much more expensive. And the judiciary has those tools. The thing, though, is if you have a set of tools, but you don't have the courage and you don't have a leader who is helping you foster that courage to use those tools, then you won't use them. And that is our paralysis at the moment. That because there's so much attack on the judiciary and judges get attacked at individual level, and sometimes there is not sufficient protection, either within the judiciary or by the groups that should be supporting judges. Judges are shy to come out. If your leadership is courageous, it starts there and gets a lot of things moving. And judges can be creative, judges can be more authoritative, magistrates can do much more, and they can do the right thing and not be used sometimes by the executive to advance its vendetta against individuals. So, yes, it's very, very complex, but at the same time, I think it's something that's doable if you have the right person, but it's not just one person.
Mr. Waikwa, is this not the reason why we separate these institutions within our setup? That's why you have the executive, you have parliament, then you have the judiciary, because it's, I think, based on the understanding that the executive will always want to exert their power. They will always want to have their say. But how then is it, let me ask the question, is it then possible to have a situation where the executive doesn't seek to influence not just the judiciary, but also the appointment of an individual that will lead the judiciary? Because this particular executive has been accused for the longest time of always seeking to have someone who is, should we say, sympathetic to their views on how things should move. How do you ensure that this speculation that we keep talking about isn't actually enacted? Because if it isn't acted on, then it means the judiciary and the executive will be one and the same thing.
Yeah, Charles, that's actually quite important. By the way, Kenya is not unique. Every executive, nearly every executive in the world wants to control the judiciary, wants to influence the appointments, and especially of senior judges, Chief Justice. Let me give you an example. South Africa, when the current Chief Justice was nominated by President Zuma, the current Chief Justice Mogoeng, a lot of people actually thought that the reason Zuma went for Mogoeng and bypassed very senior judges, Mogoeng was one of the junior most judges at the Constitutional Court, is because Zuma believed that Mogoeng was malleable and would do what Zuma wanted. And what has since happened is Mogoeng became Chief Justice, but because of his own personal integrity, personal courage, he was able to direct his loyalty to the right institution and the right things, which is the Constitution. Zuma ended up facing a lot of problems with the Constitutional Court because every violation that was reported to the Constitutional Court would rule based on the law. That is possible in Kenya. And this is why it's also a bit difficult, because while we pigeonhole and profile people and say, oh, so-and-so maybe might not do so well because of reason A or B, you never know until the person is there. Even the people who are trying to stay up very late, trying to push for their candidate, you never know what your candidate will do. And that's why it comes down to also the character of the person, because once you are there, you are entrusted with that institution, but you're also entrusted with protecting the Constitution. And regardless of who sort of helped you or who campaigned for you, you have to understand what your first responsibility is, which is to the Constitution and to the institution of the judiciary and the rule of law.
Waiko, just looking at the candidates and looking at the candidates for this particular job and the one for judge of the Supreme Court, do you see, just, the bottom of your heart, do you see the Judicial Service Commission picking a candidate independently without any external influence? Putting you on the spot here, but yeah.
I'm not, I wouldn't be so naive to think that there is not a lot of lobbying happening. I believe there is a lot of lobbying happening, and sometimes in almost nefarious type of way. At Judicial Service Commission level, by the way, there is individual, institutional, political interest that people bring to that space. Can I expect that the person who will be chosen through just a democratic and individual vote of each of the members of the Judicial Service Commission without influence? I'm not so sure, but I think Judicial Service Commission is mature enough to know the responsibility on them, and in fact, they've done this in the past, and we have no reason to doubt that they won't do this, and to actually end up giving us the best candidate. They may get it wrong, but even if they get it wrong, but they have tried, and they've tried to be true to their oath of office, then that's understandable. The only problem is when you know they are doing it to please or to keep a deal with somebody, and I hope that doesn't happen.
Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning, Waiko. Waiko Wanyoike is a constitutional lawyer. Asante sana for joining us. We hope to speak with you again soon.
Asante.
Thank you very much.
Time for a break on KTN Home. 7 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly. In the next hour, the 8 o'clock hour, we'll be talking about the pain that many are going through. Have you been able to pay your rent this month? Are you seeing that you'll be able to pay your rent next month? CEO of the Kenya Association of Residents Associations will be joining us, and we'll also be opening up the phone lines for you to share your experiences. Anybody that you know who is going through a tough time, let's hear the stories. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation.
Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
It's time to answer questions that are worthwhile. The Big Quiz Show is here. Register to play from the comfort of your home by SMSing the word JOIN to 23774. Then watch the live show on KTN every Sunday from 8 p.m. where you could have a chance to win a mealie. The fastest and most accurate answers are guaranteed to win. The Big Quiz Show, Sundays at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
5:08. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. So the interview today from 9 a.m. will be, they'll be interviewing the Judicial Service Commission. They'll be interviewing Court of Appeal Judge Martha Koome. Yesterday was a law professor, and she basically, this Professor Kameri Mbote, first woman law dean at the School of Law of the University of Nairobi. And then she started and founded the School of Law at the Strathmore University. She has been authored many times. She academically top there. Today, we are going to hear from a judge, another judge, second judge of the three that have been interviewed so far. Second judge, Lady Justice Martha Koome. Let's hear how it goes, right? And then in due course, we shall see then what happens. You know, just listening to what Waiko was talking about, you know, person of integrity, person who knows how to balance and to juggle the political landscape, person who is very well aware that the other arms of government will be trying to gain more influence on how this institution is run, but then also balance it out. It's a tough job to be a Chief Justice. Just
hard.
be a judge of the Supreme Court. Easy. Hit the zenith.
For some people, that isn't the zenith. For some people, you want to be
the top dog.
You want to be on top of that pile. Then you feel, yes, I have achieved.
I got there.
Yes, and I also remember by the time someone's such a high achiever, to the point where they can be shortlisted for this interview, it means they're already driven. There are people who are not content.
It's in their character.
They feel they want to do more. They want to achieve more. And the thing is, when they get to the more, they still want to achieve more.
Even beyond that.
Yes, they do.
It'll be interesting to see how this opens up. And I think, in as much as, I was thinking a question I would have liked to ask Waiko, but, even as we see things unfold, is the selection committee ready? Is there an atmosphere ready enough to allow or to give this position to a woman? I think it's a pertinent question now.
What do you think?
No.
I think it is. However, I believe you're asking the wrong question. The wrong question is who decides who becomes the Chief Justice of this country.
Yeah, but it's...
So think those 7 men and women who are sitting there in the Judicial Service Commission...
it's the options that they present that the executive will see.
From where is it? No.
Chief Justice is selected somewhere else.
Let's put it this way. The people who are in this Judicial Service Commission are selected, and the whole point of getting that group of people there is for a specific purpose. There'll be a few wild cards here and there, but by and large, any executive that's worth its weight in salt will predetermine some of these things and ensure that they have a friendly JSC. All
right. And one of the reasons why they want to have a friendly JSC is to influence the person who becomes the head, the chair of that JSC.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Good grief.
Oh my. So, but also, just like Waiko was saying, you can be placed there. You can find your way into the Judicial Service Commission. But then now, at this particular point, you decide the nation is more important than an individual.
I think the statement you're making is a lovely statement, but with reference to which country?
Kenya.
And to which people?
The Kenyans.
Right.
There come a time. That was a statement made by a Kenyan.
Yes, and the time did come, didn't it?
It did.
Yes.
And the nation was more important than the individual. At that point, it was a moment of realization. It was a Damascus moment.
So even if an individual has been placed there, they realize that, you know what? I'm in a unique position to actually do something about this.
Yeah, I'm going to make my decision
whether I was placed or not, it is me now to take the reins and drive this
now we move from the realm of reality, as in tangible reality, to the realm of faith. That is me now being polite. I was about to call it wishful thinking. Yes.
Hold on, keep it right here. The conversations continue. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's not looking too bad on Mombasa Road this morning. Many options have presented themselves in the last few days. The bypasses have been serving really well. Eastern, Southern, it's looking pretty good. Coming off Outer Ring today, a little bit of traffic we experienced, but it's moving. We're not at a bumper-to-bumper state, so that's great. Coming off Jogo Road and then on to past Hamza. Slow down a little bit and then get to the roundabout at City Stadium. Going towards industrial area, going towards Landis Road, slow, but it's moving. And so if it's moving, it's good, right? Coming out of Westlands, coming off Thika Road, looking pretty good, guys. Traffic had not caused too much of a problem from those areas this morning. But we're going to keep an eye on things. We're still in the middle of traffic hour. We'll see how things develop. Any hold-ups, let us know. We can spread the word and we can see how we can keep things moving this Wednesday morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way
It's
to
2 minutes
start
after
your
8.
day.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for joining us on Spice FM, on KTN Home, or live streaming through our digital platforms, Spice FM KE, on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. By the way, have you visited the new Standard Media digital platform, new swanky, revamped standardmedia.co.ke? That's standardmedia.co.ke. Visit it. You'll like the experience. CT, today's proverb.
Indeed. Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
It's not a tongue twister. It's just that
Skillful
smooth seas
sailors.
don't really make sailors.
Mm-hmm.
Skillful.
Okay.
Here being skillful.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Again.
You've got to go through the tough times.
Simply put, yes.
Sharpen the iron.
One of those one of
those
boat riders. What are they called?
Boat riders.
Riders or the people who steered?
That one.
Coxswain.
No, the little boat. Anyway, look, the
Okay,
guys
Captain.
who operate the glass boat in Mombasa. And he said, we went on this thing once and the waters were so smooth. And he said, sorry, but we have to turn back. Oh, why do we have to turn back? And he said, look, if the water is not choppy, we can actually make a path to see where we are going. So if it's smooth, then I really can't see what's going on and we're not able to get to our destination. I thought that was a lesson. Kind of the same thing you're talking about now.
If you couldn't see, he's just ask you. You could see, right?
No, but you can't see because there could be rocks underneath the water. So you need it to be choppy so that you can create a path to get to your destination.
Really? Okay. And were you in foreign waters, or was this person plying these waters for the first time?
Yeah, this was a crude.
No, they don't like the smooth water, is what they're saying.
I agree, but what I'm saying is that area that they ply is the same place they work on.
There are no new rocks.
So these rocks are going to appear from where?
Why
exactly?
do people want to complicate a simple lesson? Why can't you just say, okay, yes, that's deep, and then nod in submission? What is it?
All right.
Because your guy was delaying your happiness. I'm sure the people on that boat were wondering, so now, what do you mean?
Okay. No, Eric, I think I've got the message. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just nod and wave.
Okay,
What's the problem?
Fine.
That's fine.
Thank you.
That's
Nod,
fine.
Wave.
So why don't you tell us then about the choppy waters that many people are facing?
Truth be told, there's a lot of water in the boat when it comes to people suffering right now because of the effects of the strict measures that were introduced during this third wave of COVID-19. Many people were just trying to get out of what the last year posed in terms of threats to their livelihoods, and not just threats, but what became a reality for many when they were not able to meet their needs, when they were not able to pay rent, when they were not able to buy food as normal, when they were not able to send their children to school or meet their needs when it came to medical care. A reality for very many people. And it would appear that as we got out of that really, again, choppy situation, just as things were starting to look up, then we went back into it. And we heard the horror stories of people who were thrown out of their homes, people whose houses or doors were locked, closed when they came back and were not able to access their homes anymore because of the fact that they were not able to pay. And this is not a book, it's not a story, it's not a fairy tale. It is the reality that very many people have not been able to pay. Now, we saw this happen again just 2-3 weeks ago when this announcement was made, and the realization, and unfortunately the nightmare, then became a reality for very many people all over again. People were not able to pay rent. People lost their jobs instantly. And that meant that what they were able to earn on a daily basis then disappeared. So we're back to the place. And we've seen the stories. We've seen the cries for help, the desperate pleas for help on social media. I mean, people who call you every day and needing help in one way or another. And that's the situation today. People can't meet their rent. Landlords also are at a place where they don't know what to do. Yes, some being malicious, as others would describe it, but have to throw people out because they're not able to pay, because that's what they depend on then to be able to live. So we are back where we were a year ago, 6 months ago, where people are not able to meet their rents, people are not able to buy food because they've lost their jobs. It's a difficult spot that a lot of people are in, but that is the reality. And the question is, what to do? How to help? How do we navigate these choppy waters?
You know, the truth about COVID is that it's not going away soon. It is unlikely to go away soon. So anything that masquerades as a solution and yet in reality is wishful thinking doesn't help. And so long as we are talking about solutions that are possible and yet the means to achieve them are not put in place, all we'll be doing from day one to day, whichever in the future, is engaging in futile discussions and discourse. Reality is that a third world banana republic like ours requires a very focused attention on the people who need this help. We were poor and needy before COVID. We're now poorer and needier. Okay? And if the thinking of government seems to be the same as it was before, then it isn't even a catastrophe. It is a cataclysmic situation that we then find ourselves in. So if you're thinking about solutions, the solutions can't be the sort of solution that you slap on a small problem hoping that it'll go away. This one is not going away because, one, even if COVID ends, the ripple effects of what COVID has brought into being will be with us for some time to come.
Let's go into the neighborhoods then and have this conversation from that point. And we'll also be opening up the phone lines to hear your experience on 0719-012-600. But before we do that, let's hear from the CEO of the Kenya Association of Residents Associations, Henry Cheng, who joins us now. Good morning, Henry.
Morning, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Welcome to the Situation Room. We're glad that you could join us.
Thank you very much.
So first, for many who may not know what CARA stands for, just tell us, who are your members? What do you do?
Thank you once again. Actually, the correct name is the Kenya Alliance of Resident Associations, CARA. And we are essentially an umbrella body of neighborhood organizations that look at how do we enhance access to public service delivery. So CARA brings together a number of residential associations in different parts of the country to strengthen the voice of the association and to engage the government and other service delivery providers to ensure that we are able to access service in a way that is useful to us, and also we are able to take charge of our neighborhood and provide solutions to whatever kind of challenge that is faced in that particular neighborhood. So in short, at CARA, we look at neighborhoods or people living within a particular estate being proactive in taking charge of what bedevils them in their neighborhoods, and also coming up with ideas and solutions that can enable them live a life of dignity and can enable them to be to get value for their taxes because they're taxpayers. So we look at how to empower resident associations through capacity building. We look at how to provide the right information to make them make informed choices and informed decisions, and also to provide opportunities for them to directly engage with people who are in position of decision making and come up with practical solutions to whatever kind of challenges they might be facing in their neighborhood. And also look at how do they add value, so that don't just talk about challenges, but we also talk about what other activities or initiatives people can engage with in a particular neighborhood to ensure that they are enjoying their neighborhood, they're living a life of dignity, and they're able to achieve whatever kind of aspirations they have for that particular neighborhood. So in short, that's essentially what Kara is.
All right. The aspirations are, I think, wonderful. They're even heartwarming. Where is it in your representative capacity have you seen this being actually actioned and put into place?
I think if you look around various neighborhoods, you will see that people are increasingly appreciating the need for unity, need to work together. And the idea or the concept about resident associations, of course, is mainly appreciated in what we could call the urban areas, the major urban areas, because this is where people are more aware about their rights and responsibility, and that people are demanding for better services and better value. So if you look across the various estates, whether it is in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, all these major urban areas, you'll see that people are coming together and forming resident associations so that they're not at the masses of people who provide services, but they're able to engage on an equal footing, and they're able to identify where the problems are and come up with solutions in collaboration with various service providers. So when you ask where it is, then I can tell you it's practically across various neighborhoods, including where you're living. I'm sure if you check very clearly, you'll be able to see that people have organized themselves and they are really keen to ensure that they are in charge of their neighborhood and they want the best for them, for their children, and the people who live in that particular area. So it's across various neighborhoods.
Okay. Henry, what has come to your attention in terms of what's happening with residents in certain areas, especially now when it comes to the after effects of the lockdowns that we see because of COVID-19? What are people suffering today? What's the situation on the ground?
The major issue, of course, is the issue of ability to meet obligations, and particularly obligations when it comes to paying rent. We have seen people being unable to pay rent as they were able to do previously. We've also seen people having to downgrade from perhaps middle income estates or neighborhoods to something slightly lower because they have to adjust given the low income that they are now experiencing. So what is coming out clearly is that there's a struggle at the neighborhood, there's a struggle at individual level, and people are looking at ways and means to make adjustments to ensure that they are able to fit within the current realities that has been brought about by COVID-19. We've seen, for instance, that there's been what we could call an exodus from high level, for instance, Kilimani, Lavington, and people are moving to the outskirts of Nairobi. There's a study that was done last year that shows that areas like Syokimau, Kitengela, Ongata Rongai, the satellite towns within the city, are actually experiencing an influx of new tenants because people are moving from areas that are high in terms of rent and moving to areas where they can be able to get cheaper houses. So in those areas, there's been a slight increase even in rent because now the landlords are also seeing that we are having more demand for our properties, and now they've increased. if you look at now what we call the middle income areas, like the Kilimani, the Kileleshwa, the Lavington of this world, you'll see that the rent that is being charged in those areas has come down slightly because the demand for houses in those particular areas has gone down. So that's also a pattern we've observed, that there's an adjustment in terms of where people are living. But I think the biggest problem has been the ability for people to pay rent. And of course, now we have to look at what do we do to ensure that the contractual obligation, of course, is not breached. But even if it is, then how do we have an arrangement where the landlord and the tenant can be able to come to an agreement on how to deal with the situation? As you may understand, is that when it comes to issues of tenant and landlord, this is an individual contractual arrangement. And so the two parties must be able to come together and have a discussion on what will be the best way forward so that none of them suffers, but also at the same time we look at what are the realities and how do we make the necessary adjustments. So those are some of the observations that we've made. And of course, we know why we find ourselves in this situation, and it's because of the pandemic.
I know you say it's contractual obligation or contractual agreement between two individuals. This is the landlord and their tenant, but together they form the residents' associations wherever they are. I mean, the tenants will be members of that association. The landlords will also be participants and active participants in those associations. So in that whole idea of creating a bond between the members of a community, is there anything that Kara could do or has been able to do to sort of start conversations between landlords and their tenants by saying, so you are certain neighborhoods, we are seeing a rise in the number of people who are moving out, or a rising in the number of estates that are becoming, or houses that are becoming empty because of tenants moving out and landlords being left without tenants. And maybe there's a conversation that can happen where you as Kara then participate in opening doors for them or championing their cause in the doors that you can open with government?
Just like I said, it's a contractual obligation. But of course, what we've been able to do as Kara is to engage our members directly and tell them that we must be able to have a conversation. We must be able to come together as tenants and landlords so that we can be able to have an agreement on what is the best way forward. We've been able to handle a few cases where the tenants approached us with their challenges in terms of rent payment. Then we are able to engage the landlord and have to come to an agreement on how to either vary the contract or come up with some kind of an agreement on how the issue is going to be addressed. The situation in which we find ourselves is that for a very long time, when we were developing the tenant-landlord contract, nobody had ever thought that we'll have a situation where we are completely unable to meet our obligations because of the pandemic. So if you look at most tenant and landlord contracts, there's no that clause of force majeure. It's called the natural calamities, where people can be able to say that because of this particular natural calamity, I can't be able to meet my obligation. So that clause has always been missing because this was never foreseen. And now, in the absence of that particular clause, then the best way forward is for the two parties to be able to have an agreement. And Kara has been acting more or less like an arbitrator, so that we are in the middle and we listen to what the tenant is saying, we listen to what the landlord is saying, and then we say, can we have a middle ground where each party can be able to have some kind of reprieve? We don't have anybody adversely affected.
Are there examples? Sorry, Henry, to interrupt. Are there examples that maybe you could give us without giving us the details of the participants, where you could say that Kara came in and this is how we were able to benefit the landlords and their tenants and resolve a situation?
Of course, I wouldn't give individual particulars, but I can tell you that, for instance, in Buruburu Estate, we had a situation where we had to negotiate between the tenants and the landlords and come up with an agreement that will be able to make sense. So, of course, the cases are different because there are those who cannot pay completely. There are those who might want to have a reduction of the rent, and there are those who might want to have a deferral of the rent payment. They say, give me 2 or 3 months for me to organize myself. So if you look at it holistically, then you see that you have to deal with each case on a case-by-case basis, because somebody comes with different proposals. Somebody might say that on my side, I'm not able to pay rent because I've been laid off completely from work. Then we say, what do we do? Can the landlord be able to accommodate you maybe for a reasonable period of time as you try to find out what would be the plan B? And if there are those people who feel that they want to have like a reduction of rent, then of course you have to discuss with the landlord. This has been, of course, a bit of a challenge, because the landlord would rather say that let's put on hold maybe for 2-3 months and then you pay up rather than have a reduction. But there are others, the landlords who have on their own obligation opted to have that reduction of rent so that they can accommodate their tenants. So like I said, it's a case-by-case basis depending on the kind of proposal that each tenant is able to make and then what the landlord is able to accommodate. This being a contract that was entered between the two parties, you cannot be able to come in like with a stick, for instance, and say that you must do this, you must not do this. It has to be a mutual agreement, and it has to be within the parameters that both parties are comfortable with. So in different estates, we've handled some of these cases, but of course, without going into the details, what we normally say that each case is unique in its own way, because the landlords and the tenants are different people. So you listen to what is on the table in terms of the various proposals, and then you make an arbitration and come up to an amicable solution or way forward, where each party can be able to accommodate the final agreement that has been arrived at. So we've been able to handle that, and of course we are looking forward to a situation where we can be able to have a legislative framework that accommodates this. Of course, that's already on the offering. I'm sure you know about the Pandemic Response Management Bill that is being fronted by Senator Sakaja, that's trying now to provide a legislative framework where this can actually be anchored in law, and people can be able to make reference to specific clauses of law and say, this is how we are going to address this particular issue.
Okay. Henry Cheng, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you very much.
Henry Cheng is the CEO of the Kenya Alliance of Residents Associations. Time for a break at 22 minutes after 8, and then we'll open up the phone lines and hear your experience. What is it that the government should do when many people are not able then to pay their rent? What can communities do? What can government do? What can you all do? In the meantime, have you registered your child who is either in the ages of kindergarten through to 11th grade to generationnextchallenge.com? This is a portal that you can do that, and they'll be busy throughout this period, acquiring a deeper understanding of math, computer science, robotics, sharpening their computational skills, and nurturing their creative abilities by connecting math to real life. So they go through a number of challenges, and on this online portal, they're interacting with other children from around the country. And if you register them and they participate in this, then they're able to earn certificates, badges, and leaderboards. And then after that, they go into the Global Innovation Challenge scholarships, and these challenge scholarships based on their innovative solutions to the Sustainable Development Goals. The top 25 students per grade will receive a scholarship for the Global Innovation Challenge. The Global Innovation Challenge, now the bootcamp, the top 3 students from the Global Innovation Challenge Leadership will receive a scholarship for the 8-week Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, certified by CIC and the top university in Silicon Valley. This is generationnextchallenge.com. Check it out. Register your child. Keep them busy. They're at home. What are they doing? 24 minutes after 8. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Johnny. Johnny. Johnny, hata unisikizi. Ni nini umesoma kwa simu hivyo?
Ni gazeti ya leo napitia.
Aje sasa. Si expert.
Ni 5 bob too.
Keep up with the latest trends and news in health, real estate, finance, business, and entertainment from the convenience of your mobile phone. Dial star 550 star 3 hash to access pull-out sections of the standard e-paper for only 5 shillings from your telecom line with no additional charges to enable you to stay up to date, informed, and entertained.
You better be ready. Every Friday at 7:30 p.m. only on KTN Home. It's the Shining Stars TV show moment. Get ready to be inspired.
Cruise the city in a bulletproof Cadillac.
Get ready to be part of an exciting journey of discovery and learning with talented children.
Held me down, but I got up. Get ready, cause I had enough.
Get ready to be entertained by super amazing young talent. Because hii ni yetu, from our own talented stars, hosted by #1 TV host, Sleepy David. Shining Stars TV show, every Friday, 7:30 p.m. only on KTN Home. Be part of the journey.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, cloudy conditions
The
in
weather
Nairobi. 17 degrees is what it is, and what will be the low for today, going to highs of 25. We'll see highs of 24 in Nyeri, mostly cloudy at 16. Mostly sunny conditions in Nakuru at 18, highs of 26. Highs of 25 in Eldoret at 16 and mostly cloudy. Light rain in Kisumu at 19, going to highs of 27 today. 27 high in Kakamega, mostly cloudy at 19. It's 27 in Mombasa, and mostly sunny conditions. It'll be a warm day at 32. 31 will be the high in Malindi. 28 right now and mostly cloudy. Mostly sunny in Kampala at 22, highs of 26 and lows of 19. It's raining in Dar es Salaam at 24, we'll see highs of 28. And sunny conditions in Johannesburg at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Mostly clear in Lagos at 26, highs of 33, lows of 26. And partly sunny conditions in Kinshasa at 23, highs will be 32 and lows of 24.
Traffic.
Today's been a good day, not so bad. We've not heard many cries today, and I think that's good. Coming off Mombasa Road, it looks like we've been able to now settle into things. Heading out, it's all right. Coming off Langata Road, however, you're going to get stuck a little because everybody's coming on to Langata Road from being diverted from the Nyeri Stadium roundabouts, then joining Aerodrome, so we have some traffic going along Langata Road to the Bagathi Way roundabout. So there, it's going to be stuck for some time, but it's moving. We're not at a bumper-to-bumper state. Coming in from Thika Road, Limuru Road, entering into the city, it looks good. Limuru Road going towards Westlands, moving, not too bad at all. So not crazy traffic this morning during traffic hour. Keep an eye on things, however, and see how it opens up. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text as well, 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's Conversation, CT Muga, Nduoko, and Eric Latif with you in the house this morning. When Kenyans can no longer pay rent, the effects of the partial lockdown over COVID-19, we see this. We saw this last year. We are seeing this again, where people have immediately lost their livelihoods just because of measures that were introduced by the government. Loss of livelihoods means that you're immediately in some financial strain, and the first things that start suffering include ability to pay rent. So one of the basic human needs, and this is a roof over your head, is immediately put into jeopardy. We've seen these conversations on social media where somebody just says, look, guys, I'm going through this. Somebody posted on social media the other day talking about what their landlord had done to them.
Right, sure. So, I mean, this gentleman whom we actually spoke to yesterday, had all his stuff literally thrown out of his house because he was not able to meet his rent obligations. And, he was at the point whereby dialogue now was thrown out the window. They were not able to talk about it anymore. And the landlord decided, look, since I've not received this payment from you, you have to go. And so his stuff was thrown out and he did not know what to do, did not have a job. And, the only way for him to be let back in was if he paid the arrears that he had. And so we had a chat with him yesterday and tried to see if we could speak with him today and just find out what was going on. But it was the two things that will come out of this is that, one, yes, he said to me very clearly, you know what, although the reason why I'm not able to make it today to have this chat with you is, number one, there were many well-wishers who, threw help my way. And I was able to clear my arrears and I was able to pay rent for the next 1 month. At the same time, somebody else came up and told me about the job opportunity and asked me to attend an interview this morning. So he's off to do that today. But one thing he said to me was very clear. Even if I'm not able to speak to you, there are very many other people in this situation that I'm sure that if you threw a stone, it would land on one of them. And so that was two things that I got from what he said yesterday. That one, there are very many people in this situation who, I've been thrown into this abyss of inability to pay, and then they also have been thrown out, or at least are living under the threat of being thrown out. But then there are also very many Kenyan well-wishers who are able to throw an extra coin here or there to help out for those who might be suffering. 100 shillings here, 200 shillings here, and then it's able to fill the pot, and they're able to then live a little bit longer. But yeah, there are very many stories of folks today, we're not talking about to come, today, who have to shack up with, a friend, who have been thrown out, who've had come home after looking for something to do during the day and found their doors boarded up. And the question is what to do. How are we going to get past these situations, the sticky situations that many Kenyans find themselves in today? And this was something that was immediate. This was something that was immediate. You do a job, you get paid by the day, and you stack up some of it up to then be able to pay rent and meet your other needs, and then suddenly you cannot. Then what happens? The end of the month is round the corner, staring you in the face. What do you do? And very many people in this situation today. And I'm sure that there are many more.
Without a doubt, it's not just many more, the numbers will grow. Because COVID notwithstanding, if you look at the real scourge, is not the absence or the reduction in the resources that are available for people to ease the suffering of the people, but it's something that I think our current lenders, the IMF, and their cousins, the World Bank, understand very clearly that the resources may be available, but it's the use to which they're put and the manner to which, in general, this particular matter of finances are managed. Because even as we talk about development, even as we talk about all the progress that we've made, our underlying issue has never been that we don't have projects to undertake. No. The problem has been at what cost? And what brings about this disparity? Because this is what exacerbates the situation, so that there isn't money to help people when we actually need that help most. So when it was there, it went wherever it shouldn't have gone, and that guaranteed that when that 11th hour came and it was most needed, we were not able. Yes, it simply wasn't there. And yet the alternate reality is that it could have been there, but the reality is it's not there. Yes.
And then there's a lot that can be done. If you just go by the story that you've just told us, Ndu, the gentleman went on Twitter and said, this is what I'm going through, speaking out and saying, this is what I'm going through. And then people were able to rally and, get for him to go for a job interview, maybe support him in terms of, what can we do to help you get to a level where you can actually pay rent and move back into your house, or even if it's moving to another house. And this is not just one. There are many other cases where in various groups, somebody just picks up and says, guys, I have reached the end and I'm getting kicked out. I just need help. People come together and they start helping. There are very many of such instances, and I'm sure if we just open up the phone lines now, 0719-012-600, you get people who say, yes, I was able to contribute to a friend, to a relative, to a stranger, somebody I didn't know about, but somebody whose plight was brought to my attention. Or others who say, I got support. Or others who will say, I am in particular a dire need right now, and I'm looking for ways in which I can be supported. The point I'm making here is that we have this Harambee spirit as Kenyans. When you hear somebody is in need, you're thinking, okay, so how can we come together and help this person? How can we come together to the aid of this particular individual? As we talk about government and what government can do, whether the government can roll out money to, support people, what is it that the people, communities can do? What is it that people in residence associations can do to help one another? What is it that then the people who are going through stuff can be encouraged to do? Is it you go and report to the nearest chief's office, and then the chief coordinates this kind of information on how we can help one another? What needs to happen? We need to come up with practical solutions because people are suffering. Today, there's somebody who is going to be kicked out. There's somebody who was kicked out of their house. There's somebody who's facing this dire situation today.
Well, I wish, yeah, sure, because clearly, it's clear if we're talking about systems and structures under which people can be assisted, they don't exist right now. If anything, that what was what people could do to get something extra previously. But right now, what you're talking about, collating all this information and say such and such a person needs help, we do not have an active welfare system.
Yep.
It doesn't exist. Social welfare, whereby you can go and report to a certain place and say, I lost my livelihood because of 1, 2, 3. I need assistance. And then it doesn't exist, right? So it would appear as though, the reality is that then something else needs to be done or something else needs to be thought of, because it's not just COVID. It's COVID today, but there will arise in the future another time where people are not going to be able to meet their needs.
Yeah.
What will happen? Is it up to the people to say, okay, we then need to come together to form nets amongst ourselves in different clusters and say, whenever this happens, we will do this? Or does the responsibility lie on the shoulders of government to say, there will come a time where Kenyans will not be able to fend for themselves. We need to be the ones to be able to set up a safety net for them, which is not a far cry from the reality in other places.
Yeah.
Actually,
but today, what do we do?
That time is with us, huh? It's not it's going to come.
Yeah, but I'm saying right now the system doesn't exist, so something needs to be done today. We're not going to call on government right now and say, okay, set up a welfare system, set up a social welfare system because Kenyans need help today. It's not going to happen right now. They need to be thinking about what to do, but today, for those who will be thrown out, for those who don't have a place to sleep tonight, what is going to happen?
You see,
what requires to happen? City, before you come in, let's go to the phone lines because I've got two callers,
Right.
Anthony in Mombasa and Ed in Nyeri. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning, station room.
Morning to you.
How are you?
Salama kabisa, Anthony.
Yeah, Mombasa ni joto tu, kunajua bado.
Okay.
Let me start by saying this. Now the schools are closed. I'm here with my family at home, and I know kids will be opening schools soon. But instead of keeping money aside for the school fees, I hold parties or I go and do other things. I go buy a television at home, 40-inch, 100-inch, whichever. I go buy those things just to make my family happy. Yet I know very well the opening of schools are around the corner. I come to the same scenario to the government. Misplaced priorities. And when we have leaders who cannot place what is priority, because Kenya, we cannot say we don't have resources. Money is there, money has been borrowed, and we pay taxes. So there is money. But this money has been used wrongly. All in other, there are things that need to be done, yes, but can wait. We deal with the priority. They should have known how to caution the common mwananchi. If you ask yourself, every bar that operates feeds around approximately 5 or more people. Every long distance bus, matatu, that cannot operate right now, have people who depend on it. Where are all these people getting their money?
You know, Anthony,
how are they getting?
Anthony, we have said this for the last 1 week. We have said this, and it's very, very clear. Yes, the government could have the government. So, what is it that can be done today for the person who is suffering today?
I think the back goes back to the government. Why? Why I say this? They need to rethink on the policies they are making right now or they've made previously. They need to come up with good policies. Some of these matatus and buses, I think they should have just, for a short duration, they change the NTSA laws. They allow these buses to operate other different routes. So that at least these people can fend for themselves. They just use such policies, they change such. So the back goes back to the government. They should rethink on their policies, on what they are doing, to make sure the common mwananchi who's not having something on the table can have at least something coming to his pocket.
How long do you expect that to bear results?
Some of these things can bear results immediately. If today the president announced that the TLB rules have been changed for the duration of the ban, that the buses and the matatus that are affected by the ban can operate other routes, those people tomorrow will be working. So they will get something on their table. If they rethink on the policies of the opening of the bus, and they come up with strict measures whereby the police are enforcing it, so that the social distance is there, these bus can operate with social distance, these people will get something on their table. And it can happen immediately. So things can change if the government wanted to change. And it doesn't have to cost them anything.
You know what might surprise you is that we don't lack policies for such matters. We actually don't lack plans for such matters. Again, one of the things that we always discuss in this particular show is that implementation matrix. How do we get to a point where some of these wonderful things we talk about, we even plan about, we have papers about, we have positions about, and yet when it comes to implementation, we are stuck. And to understand this even better, you only need to read today's papers to look at the number of projects that the World Bank or the IMF or lenders are insisting we must complete. It tells you the plan to do these things exists. Even the impression that we've started doing something exists. But reality, here we are. What then do we do? I was going to pick up and say, this Harambee spirit that we have perhaps may be the solution. Because if we can work together and find a solution in helping, a case in point is the individual who couldn't pay his rent. Think of what else we can do. Think of the pressure you can put on your member of parliament. Your member of parliament ignores you because they know they can ignore you.
They can get away with it.
Your MCA ignores you because they know they can get away with it. Your government also does what it does because it knows it can get away with it. Think of the pressure you can bring to bear on the very people we are saying should do these things.
Those that should work. Ed Getonga, good morning.
Morning to you guys. How are you doing?
Good morning,
Fine,
Ed.
thank you.
No, there's nothing as painful as losing a job, especially at a time like this. Case in point, I lost my job during this period, the job that I got using. And, when you realize that it has hit the fan, instead of looking for something else when you know you're in the same location where it has hit the fan, what I did, I came to Nyeri for the time. Because surviving in Nairobi without cash and surviving in Nyeri without cash is heaven and earth. But here's the thing. I think, in a way, in as much as most of us are looking for jobs out there, I think we need to have a plan B in the sense that, for example, right now, if someone is renting a house for like 12,000 shillings, and there's maybe a loss of job that is coming somehow, you can move from that 12K, you can go for 2,000 and something. Yes, it's going to be small, but at least you're going to live with it.
Ed, give me an
I think in
example
a
of
way-
what you mean. I hear you, but for instance, you said moving from Nairobi to Nyeri, the difference is vast, okay? Real, tangible terms. What are now the benefits of living in Nyeri as opposed to living in Nairobi without a job?
For me, I'll tell you the advantage. For example, I relocated my family in Nyeri, which is my maternal home. So you shall go. I have a room over here, 2 rooms. So there is no rent that I'm paying right now. So in as much as I'm trying to get some cash for feeding the family and keeping the family, at least I know that I've cut the cost of rent. Now, when it comes, for example, transport, I've been in the matatu industry, so some matatu guys who Nyeri, they know me. So using transport is, on as far as cash is concerned, I'm going to save on that. And I know, now, if I don't use myself as an example, kuna watu, Ushago, it's still open. You may find someone has constructed already a home at Ushago, but you're still stuck on ideology, wacha nikae Nairobi, mambo itakuwa mzuri. But right now, it's very unpredictable.
So your advice is move. Make that
For me,
decision. Move.
My advice is 2 things. 1, move for a more comfortable situation. That is 1. 2, I think there's an appeal to most Kenyans. If you got some cash somewhere, don't save for a dry day. No. Save, invest in something, maybe have a business, have a source of income somewhere. Because I can assure you of this, in as much as people in business also are suffering, but at least they're still earning. For someone who streamlined at specifically salary at the end of the month, or maybe the job that I had was commission-based, it's tough. It's going to be tough. That one I can assure you.
Thank you for sharing, Ed. Thank you for sharing your own personal experience, and we wish you all the best as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you, Ed.
0719-012-600. Yes, there are many people like Ed who, well, you've lost your job. It's during this pandemic period. You have immediate financial challenges, rent, food. Schools are going to reopen. So what do you do with the children going back to school? What is it that can be done immediately now? So, yes, Anthony says government can actually reverse some of these things, some of these orders, and immediately there'd be an impact. Secondly, government can think long-term and there would be long-term impact. You're saying community can immediately come in and community can step in the gap. But there lacks a structure, like you're saying, a structure that organizes. So if I'm going through something and then I don't know, who do I talk to? Am I going to talk to my neighbors who are also suffering the same fate I'm suffering? If I and my close friends who are my co-workers have all been fired, so what? I tell them, you guys, I'm suffering. They tell you, yeah.
So are we.
So are we. So how do you create that network then and information flow?
With all this suffering, something that I see which is very heartwarming, some people consider it a bother.
Yep.
You know how it is, you look at your WhatsApp page and there is a call for assistance for someone who's either unwell or somebody who has passed away. Despite the number, you still see people responding. That, to me, is what encourages me and tells me that people aren't giving up. Despite the difficulties, they are still willing to help somebody else who they feel has a problem.
Do you okay, look, it would make sense that you have so many people who are going through such a difficult period at the same time, concurrently, right? But I think there's also this back thought that the government won't do anything about it right now. And that's why you go to the people around you. And, do we hear, look at the cries that we've been hearing over the last 2 weeks. Has it been, government, please put money in our hands? No, it hasn't been that. It has been, please open up. Please release these measures so that we can go and work. Kenyans want to go and work because they realize the money coming into your hand, the welfare state that I was suggesting, is a far cry. It is in the place where you talked about dreams and fairy tales. For a lot of Kenyans, it's that, okay, look, we're not expecting money to be put in our hands by government. We're not expecting them to come and give us work to do. So we are asking you, open up the spaces so that we can actually go and work and we can earn and then fend for ourselves and our families. And I think that by the time you're seeing that you do not place any of your hope or trust in government, it's actually on your shoulders upon which you have. So again, you're begging for that environment whereby you will be able to do the work. Whether there's a threat of disease, whether there's a threat of this pandemic, it doesn't matter. That's a side thing. What we are saying right now is open up. Has that not been the call across board? Open up the country so we can get back to work. Open up the country so that people can come and visit so we have something to do. Open up the country so that people can go and eat out so that we can have our jobs back in the service industry. That's the call. Let us work so we can eat, because we know that you're not going to do anything about it. You're not going to give us money. You're not going to have food drives. You're not going to have relief, anything for any of us. Again, the responsibility is on our shoulders. So give us the environment through which we can work. By the time people get to that point where they're saying, allow us to work because we know that you're not going to do anything, hope in that system has been lost completely. Completely.
Mistrust.
There's also the reality. I mean, there's at this particular time, what is it that the government can do? The government, we saw what the government rolled out last year. Last year, the government was able to roll out money for the elderly. It was able to roll out support to very many vulnerable families that were receiving cash transfer on a weekly basis. The government was able to roll out the tax incentives that it gave to employers, employees. It did that. And the impact of that is still being felt in government to date, where we are now even rolling out another Eurobond because we need money to continue funding government operations. So already you're at a point where, okay, in reality, can the government roll out an expansive social welfare scheme that helps the people who are vulnerable? The truth is, no, it cannot.
In this climate, no.
It can't.
In this climate that we have in, but rolling out they may not, but it doesn't mean that you can't take lessons from this particular situations we're in to ensure that you set up serious structures that can actually ensure that should such an occurrence actually come into being, or even when we are beyond it, we'll still have people who are in need in this country, they can be looked after. See, these tough times have very instructional occurrences that can open your eyes to things that ordinarily you wouldn't see. So it presents an opportunity to put in place or to think about setting up things that ensure that such situations, not averted, but can be mitigated through things that can be done. Now, if we lose the opportunity that this situation has presented and we get back to normalcy, under those normal circumstances, people aren't going to think about those things. They're just going to think about getting
They'll
on.
move on.
They'll move on.
But that's the thing.
And an opportunity will have been missed.
But I do think that on the side of everybody here, and it's a mix between those who are in opposition to lead and govern and, citizens who are going about doing their job. In everything together, there is the hope that this pandemic or even this third wave will subside, so that, number one, we don't have to be dealt with responsibility of having to come up with a solution as government. And number two, we don't have to keep begging or hope that something will change. We can actually just get back to work. Everybody's hoping that this thing will go away so that we don't have to make these difficult situations. And I am saying that it is absolutely necessary, whether there is a time of threat or not, that you should always have a safety net. Always. For your people, it is necessary. I mean, I'm going to keep giving the example of countries whereby a budget was in place, the fiscal year was rolling, COVID came, there was a special sitting when they came back and said, you know what, let's look at this, we need to rejig it for the sole purpose of making sure that your people do not suffer. I agree. Are there things that you can do? Yes, there are things that you can do. Does it necessarily mean that you will fuel it with funds right now? We know there's no money. We understand there's no money. We see that the world organs are giving to the country right now. But is it possible to look at future times and say, this is actually a place where we want to go? It is a place where you want to go, so that you don't have a situation where your people are crying on a daily basis and saying, don't even give us. Just make it possible for us to work.
Look at the influence and the activities that have been undertaken by institutions within this country to meet some of these needs. For instance, we had the CEO and MD of Equity Bank the other day. And one of the things we didn't talk about, but one of the projects that they have that standard is something called Wings to Fly. All right? Another huge bank in this country, KCB, also has a similar project not doing the same thing, but looking at the youth and how to help them, what they call tujiajiri. Now, they don't need to do these things. They are commercial enterprises. But the leadership have understood that there is a need and they've taken steps.
To work with it, support the communities.
Exactly. Now,
pause that conversation as we want to say a very big thank you to our audience on KTN Home. 5 minutes to 9 o'clock. You've been with us since 7. Switch over to SpiceFM 94.4 in Nairobi, Mombasa 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu. Nakuru is 96.0, Eldoret 96.7 and 90.9 in Nyeri, Malindi 97.7. The conversation continues into the next hour. We want to hear what is it that all of us can do to support one another? What is it that the government can do to come to the aid of those that are going through financial difficulties today? Lack of money to buy food, to pay rent, to buy clothes, to take your children back to school. What can be done? That's a conversation we're having. And our number is 0719 012 600. We'll be picking more calls shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up Spice FM. Spice up your
So
life.
let's go to the phone lines, and we have Maurice in Kisumu. Maurice, good morning.
Morning. How are you guys?
Very well,
Morning.
thank you.
Is it raining in Nairobi?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it raining in Kisumu?
So, hey, seriously.
Okay.
So, calm seas don't make for good sailors, was it? Something like that.
Calm seas don't make good sailors.
The seas right now are very choppy. And Ed Gitonga was speaking from the point of a guy who's been in choppy seas.
Yep.
I lost my job 2.5 years ago simply because I refused to participate in some corrupt deals. But then there are things I used to do before I was employed. So I simply fell back to my plan B.
Okay. So you had a side hustle.
I had a side hustle. And this is what I'd like to encourage each and every Kenyan. Whenever tribulations face you in your life, look at exactly how you can very quickly recover. Don't start mourning at now there's no job.
You know what? You know what, Maurice? It's true what you're saying. That we've actually also had conversations with somebody whose side hustle was in the hospitality sector. So now you've lost your job, and your side hustle, which is a bar, cannot operate.
Okay.
Now then.
You know, these things don't go in tandem. As in, what I'm trying to say, this is a learning curve for Kenyans. Even if you're paid 100,000 shillings as a salary, for example, don't live 100,000 shillings worth of life month to month. Yes. If it's a house, you can do 10K. I mean, put something in the bank for a rainy day. Yes, because if you can save from your earnings in your household 20,000 shillings every month for the unknown, if you work for 3 years and you're hit with something of this sort that will take a drag for like a year and a half, you can cut your costs down, you can trim down your lifestyle and say, okay, now what you have is this. It was meant for this project, but let us survive on it as we see.
So, Maurice, I'm hearing you saying that if Kenyans went into a saving culture where you kept something for a rainy day, even if something like this were to happen, where the president comes and says, we're shutting it down for a couple of days, then they would have something to live on until things settle,
And
even
I'm
if they lost their
saying
jobs.
Yes, and I'm saying this from experience. From my pay, which was not a lot of money, I was saving about 10,000 shillings because I wanted to start some project for my mama. For the last 2 years, before I got something else to do as my side hustle was picking up, at least we could shop, pay that small rent to the small house that we moved in. There was some semblance of normalcy. Yes, that is what Kenya should have a saving culture. This government is never going to help us any single day.
That's good personal experience that you're sharing with us. Thank you very much, Maurice.
All right.
Enjoy the rain. 0719-012-600. So Karanja is on the line. Karanja, just hold on. We want to take a look at traffic, what's happening on the roads, and then we will come back to the phone lines. What is it that can be done to help those who are currently going through these choppy waters? All right, very many people. Personal experience from Maurice, from Ed is, you know what, Make that decision immediately. Immediately. Adjust your lifestyle. Immediately. And always be prepared. But what's your experience and what's your advice? This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. The number to call is 0719-012-600. Also, you can share your ideas and your thoughts on social media, SpiceFM KE, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. In the next hour, we'll be picking more and more of your calls. We want to hear what your thoughts are. Good morning. It's now 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so it looks like there's some traffic on Langata Road this morning, not being able to explain what's causing that, but it slows down quite some. Now, of course, to remember that such traffic on Langata Road is joined by oncoming traffic from the southern bypass. So it looks like a little bit of a mess right now, but it's not bumper to bumper, just increased moving into the city. So let's keep an eye on that. Other than that, around it seems that it's flowing very well, not too much of an issue. Mombasa Road, of course, we see some in outbound to the city. Coming from Aerodrome, Upper Hill, and then into the CBD, slows down a little bit, but not bumper to bumper, so it's okay. It'll move as we go. Let us know, should you get stuck anywhere, or if the situation changes for you, let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Proverb.
Right. Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors. Joseph in Embakasi, hello.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Switch
I'm
off your,
actually calling from Makasi.
switch off your radio, please.
I'm doing fine, thank you.
We're waiting.
All right. Let me move a little bit far from the radio. Are you able to hear me now?
Yep, that's better. It's not us, it's you we are worried about.
All right. You see, I'm working for Hope Worldwide in Embakasi.
Right.
And right now, I'm actually working in the slum from Kurupa, Cheng and Kurupa Ruben. There's not a way these people can adjust their life because the kind of life they're living is the last one to the world. So personally, from observations I've made, I think the problem is directly coming from the government. Because if you're keenly observing how Jubilee government was running its affairs in the first term, the consequences are now affecting Kenya right now. Because apparently they never expected something like a pandemic would come and hit the country like it has struck right now.
Yeah.
Even the manner in which Jubilee was initiating projects at a very high cost, and they insisted they were doing the right thing, but the truth is they were not doing the right thing. Right now, the government has to rely on well-wishers to bail out its own people from the suffering the people are going through. For example, if you look at the SGR, the construction price of SGR in Kenya was 3 times what the Kibaki Raila government initiated before, but they insisted they were doing the right thing. Or which the truth is they were not doing the right thing. Now the government is relying on loans from all over the world to run other projects. Still, they're allowing people to steal that money. So there's no way. I think the government hands are tied. They don't have any other money. They don't have any other money. So it has to take the initiative of well-wishers to come in and bail out people from this kind of suffering. I walk from door to door in the slums, and I'm telling you, people are struggling. They are really struggling. Having 3 meals in a day is like a dream for them. Leave alone paying house rent. These guys are so what I would say, the government cannot bail out these people right now because the government also does not have money. Just like they say, we have the products of our choices. Really, Kenyans are living by the choices we make when voting.
So it should be about the people.
What I would love to tell Kenyans, honestly, people must be wise and people must know that every single thing, the good thing you want to leave comes from the hands of our politicians. The person you vote to represent you as a president or a member of parliament, this person must be someone who has the problems for people at will. That goodwill of making people live a better life than before. That is the reason why we vote after every 5 years. But since we take the kind of leadership and they can have a life that we wish to live around us.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you very much. Rufus in Nakuru, hello.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's been well.
It has.
Are you all well?
Very
Yes,
well.
we are.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, I want to make a contribution. Number one, I would like to say, and I would like to encourage everybody to invest socially. In this, I mean, when the sun is shining, don't only invest in money, because invest in people, in relationships. Because personally, I work in the tourism industry.
Yeah,
I ran a company that catered mostly for missionaries. And now, when the pandemic came, in fact, the day last year when the government closed up, and America said that they are going to close up their country, we had clients who had already arrived. They left the following day. And since then, we've had no business.
Wow.
Now, at least I had some social net somehow, but still, survival has been the people, the relationship that we've had with people.
Yep.
It's really helped us. And also, being pragmatic and knowing that now it's not business as usual.
Yep.
You have to live with what you have.
You adjust accordingly.
Yes, you adjust accordingly. And the other thing is, saving is very good. And I also would want to say that the saving culture, we should teach our kids the saving culture, starting from when they are very young. The reason being is that if you don't have something to fall back to, you'll not be able to adjust accordingly. And as I go, let me go back to what I said about social investment. Even your bank people, you should be friendly with them because you have a loan and these things hit, and maybe you are so arrogant to them because you thought you had money. What happens when they start coming to you? But when you have a social network with everyone, you invest socially, friends, just be, a good person. I think that is a thing and that is one thing that I know about Kenyans is that they are good.
They'll come to your aid.
Yeah, they'll come to you. But if you have not invested socially, if you behave like an island because maybe things are going well for you. When these things happen, then you realize that you need everybody. And I would like to.
Thank you very much, Rufus. I think that what you're saying is your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Or what you'll say in Kikuyu is that somebody is people.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you very much. Karanja in Naivasha, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you? With CT and Adu.
Good morning.
We're very well, thank you, Karanja. How are you doing?
I'm very fine, sir.
Yes.
Mimi nataka niseme namna hii.
Yes.
Kuna wakati serikali inasema msifikiria vile serikali itamfanyia, fikirieni vile mtafanyia serikali. And these things I want to be very positive. Mimi nilianza hiyo for a very long time, like 10 years ago. I used to work in a NGO, and all of a sudden misaada ilikatwa mara moja. Hadi tulikuwa hatuwezi enda mahali, hatuwezi fanya hii na hatuwezi fanya namna hii kwa sababu misaada imekatwa mara moja na hakuna kitu inakuja. Sasa tukaanza, niliingia mahali nyingine ambapo nilichukua watu kadhaa kama watu 100 hivi. Haya, tulikuwa tunatumia nauliza mtu unatumia pesa gapi kwa simu, kupiga simu ama kwa SMS? Ananiambia ni shilingi 50. Namwambia kila siku changa shilingi 20, usitumie 50, tumia 30. Ubakisha 20. Kwa hivyo tumekuwa at least, let me say in a week we save like 100. Each and every person like 100 person, tunaanza kitu kinaitwa kama CCI, Charitable Institution, CCIO, yenye tunasaidiana sisi wenyewe kwa tukiwa tunafanya kazi mahali pamoja. Kama kwa mfano vile mnafanya kwa hiyo studio, mnaweza anzisha kitu yenye inaweza save kila kitu, hiyo mfuko inaingia kila wiki 100 kwa kila mtu.
Yes.
Yenye anatumia hata saa nyingine tulikuwa tunajinyima lunch ndio tuweze kusave.
Sasa hiyo yote ambayo mmesave imewasaidia? Imesaidia kila mtu kwa sababu hata tumeenda to some extent tunanunulia kila mtu kodoo. Tunamwekea kwake kwa nyumba. We think of how we can empower somebody through employment, anajiajiri yeye mwenyewe. It's a cooperative.
Niulize Karanja, hii chama hii chama yenu, is it for both men and women? Is it just for women? Is it for men?
It is for men and women. Both mwenye hapa interest anaingiaga na anakuja na tunasaidiana.
Okay. Do you know of any such chama mahali unaishi hapo where it's only men who have started such a project and if it has actually worked?
Let me tell you my friend, hata wale tunafanya nao kazi sana ni wanawake, sio wanaume. Kwa sababu mwanaume anakuja anasema mimi nimesave sana na sijaona kitu inanisaidia, anatoka. Lakini wanawake wamekuja wamenunua kuku 3, 4, 5, inaenda inatega mayai, ana incubate zingine zinaleta kuku. Wengi wamesaidika na hiyo jambo. Kwanza hasa wakati saa hii tuko na hii COVID. Wengi wanafanya mahali na kuna mahali na shamba inaitwa wacha nisitaje. Wao wamekuja karibu, wamekuja tumefanya tumesaidiana, wengine tunasaidia wengine kupata makazi ya kupalilia chakula kwa mashamba hivi na tumewasaidia na wamesaidika. Wengine hata wakati kulifungwa tumesaidia wengi kupata chakula kila siku. Kila mtu anaenda na shilingi yake 500 ama 300 per day. Na unaona mtu anaridhika.
Very good. Asante sana Karanja.
Yes.
Asante sana for that story.
Thank you very much. Lakini inasaidika. Tusikifikiria vile tutasaidia serikali, lakini serikali tusifikirie vile itatusaidia.
Haiwezi. Pinto in Asembo Siaya. Hello Pinto.
Yes, fine. Thank you very much. So I'm calling from there, and it's actually my first time calling SpiceFM. I'd really like to appreciate the job you guys are doing.
Karibu sana.
For the first time you can listen to me in the morning, not be asked to send 100 Bobu Pigo JKU. These are certain times. Doing that to people when they're really in need and ask them to send 100 Bobu. It's not good.
Pinto, there's something not right with your line. Let's see if we can get you on a clearer line. But in the meantime, let's talk to Zachary in Nakuru. Zachary, hello.
Oh, hi guys.
Hi.
I am happy Japuji is back.
Japuji never left. Ni maringo tu ndogo. Umeona Japuji kwa gazeti ya leo, Zachary?
Nimeamka tu saa hii.
Ukiangalia gazeti ya leo, the front page. Iko picha hapo. Iko baba. Iko Mangidi.
Okay.
Na iko Japuji hapo hivyo anaitwa City Muhoho.
Let me address him. Japuji.
Sema ndugu yangu, uko mzima?
While you are away.
Yes.
We were made that you had to attend a very, very high powered. How do you call it? You guys describe it? High powered delegation.
You must not. Let me tell you something, my friend. The things that my colleagues here say on radio with reference to me must always be taken with a pinch of salt. They are given to mischief every once in a while.
No, we understand that, and that's why life goes on because of such things, good things. But we appreciate you, and we said that the program is number one, is top notch, yeah.
Asante.
And if you find me describing something like that, top notch, you know it makes me happy. Yeah? Now, our forefathers, the Kikuyus, had very, very good proverbs, yeah. And one of them is, many of them are applicable right now, this time, yeah. And there is one that they phrase to say it or to mean or to connote that whoever is using a spoon to eat a hot meal, yeah, does not know or cannot understand that the one who is using his bare hands is getting burnt. I don't know whether I can say it in Kikuyu.
Say it. Say it by all means.
That is what it means. Kikuyus there can they explain to you Kinamobis and the rest, yeah? And if you try to think that if an individual like me tries to think that the government is going to sit somewhere, the government of Kenya that is, which was formerly a British protectorate, yeah? That is
a British colony, by the way. Sisi tulikuwa colony, fully fledged colony. Not protectorate. Tanzania ilikuwa protectorate. Sisi ni colony.
You know, but do you know why I respect your people?
Yeah, please tell me why you respect my people.
They are the only people who can read big books without colored illustrations, yeah?
I don't know where you got that from. I personally like colored illustrations.
For us, if you do not, like now, write a book and say that Mazaros or the Komawikis, yeah, are costing this much in the Githurai for the 5 market open air market. I don't think we can read 2 pages or 3 pages. We get bored and we doze, yeah.
Move on.
But for you people, you can read about a very big, a very comprehensive topic and a complex one, yeah.
Back to topic, Zachary. Higher.
Now, there is one thing that I'm going to say. Every person has to know that things have changed. And the lesson we are running from this COVID-19 is that we have to change our ways. We have also to change our character. There is that person who has said that let us, everyone who is calling is saying that let us, in good times, let us cultivate the culture of saving. And there is also another person there who has mentioned bank. When you borrow, make sure that you are a good, is it debtor or creditor, that you pay your own, yeah? Right now, Mr. Eric, I'm dealing with the people and sometimes you ask them, can I pay you through M-Pesa? They are saying no. I ask them why. I have got freezer. So it means that person has gone to the other mainstream platforms and borrowed and can't pay. Now he or she has freezered. Okay? And I tell them, why now? How now do I pay you? And you are maybe about 2 kilometers and you have done work for me, yeah? Or I even want to give you money. Somebody has called you in distress and they tell, oh, can you save me? Okay, I'm going to M-Pesa you 300 or 500, yeah? Don't put there. I've got freezer. Then I asked him, why? Why do you go to that extent? The Kikuyus had also another thing that they said, or went, Bori egunagole ni koroya jira. Bori is a goat, yeah? It is salvaged or saved by the peel that has been dropped on the way, yeah? So one thing that what this thing is telling you is that the goat has first of all to move out of the shed. Okay? And it goes looking for food along the way, yeah? So what this one is telling us is that do not, whether you have lost your job, whether you have lost your business, do not find comfort in your house where you have nothing, you don't have water, you don't have hunger, you have nothing. Move out like others, yeah? And where you are out, you'll find something that you can do, and that is the one that is going to help you. You go back to your family, you help them, yeah?
Get out there.
Get out there and also be paying loans, yeah? The small loans that you get through the mobile platforms.
Pay them.
make sure you pay so that next time you need them, they are going to be there.
Thank you, Zachary. Say hello to Waithera.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Pinto in Asembo.
Yes, network was failing me a bit.
This is now clearer.
Good. So I was saying, first of all, thank you very much for you guys for not asking me to send you 100 bob ndio munipige jeki. I get to move on to this financial life. It's really good, I have to say that. And then secondly, one of the things that never seems to be changed by these political or disease things or pandemics ni mambo ya food. If people can just get to the traditional organic ways of farming, people will have food. The people can't pay rent, and I really feel for them. I used to work in the city. I'm a medic by profession, and I retired early. I'm still quite young to retire, but I retired early. And then I came back to Shags and started liming. Right now, I'm a bit breathless. Lima, mwili bado jazoea. But it's promising because with the rains, I'm seeing that I'm going to have food. And then just like somebody mentioned earlier, there won't be someone knocking at my door at an impatia rent. So if I can grow my own food, and going by your previous discussions, Jana, mambo za NHIS and the hospital industry, if you're growing your own food, you fall ill less often. Like you're eating good food. Some of these diseases and the troubles with paying NHIS or all those insurances is because people are eating wrong. That aside, if I don't want to say government, but if people can thought that in their minds that kila mtu akona ushago kwao, ikiumana kabisa, let everyone just coil back, and then if you can, for that small period of time, put something on the ground and use it for food while you're there. It will really help a lot. And then we should also learn in our minds to separate leadership and politics. Kenya needs a leader. Our neighbors, the Tanzanians, they lost a leader, the late President Magufuli, and I do not know whether it is about COVID or anything, but those who know say that hii mambo ya COVID imetupotezea kiongozi mzuri mwenye ni Magufuli. Everyone can just solve that, and what is really important in their own particular situation. If you can't pay rent today for whatever reason, I really feel it. Even me, before I moved from the city, I could pay rent, but I moved before things got bad. So looking back now, and then I speak to some of my colleagues who are still there, it's pitiful, but then on the ground, my situation, mtu labda akiona life naishi sahi and the one I used to live previously, probably they would pity me. But the peace of mind that I have and the food that I eat, and just
you're living a better quality life.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pinto. And asante sana for calling in today.
Thank you so much.
Asante. Amani.
Good morning, Latif.
Good morning.
Good morning, Du. Good morning, Muga.
Good morning, Amani.
Okay. I have a different take on all this COVID issue because historically, the reality is the countries where women are president, the COVID issue is almost a non-issue. It is so well managed, so strategically organized that, things work, life continues very well compared to, let's say, our male counterparts. I have nothing against men. I'm not male bashing. I'm just saying that's the reality. So can Kenya then decide that the COVID president will be a woman and everything falls in line according to the policies that this particular woman who's heading this particular, what do you want to call it, organization or committee, will run, and the national government will support that and do what needs and does what needs to be done, including the county government. I think that's a really good strategy, and also women are very good at saving.
So when you say let the COVID president be a woman, do you mean the president of the republic in next year's election?
That one too, because COVID is still with us. Muga was very eloquent about that, and it's true. COVID is with us for a few years to come. So I think we need to get that in place. But before that, within this 1.5 years remaining or so, let's have a committee set up, which is headed by a woman.
To do what?
To sort out these COVID issues. Because women are...
What do you mean sort out?
this whole program has been Kenyans trying to deal with COVID, their struggles, etc.
Okay. There is
And
such a
because-
committee, you
yeah.
know that, and it's actually
Headed
headed
by
by a
women?
woman. Yes.
Where is it? I don't know about it.
The COVID fund, set up by the
Uh-huh.
president, is chaired
Uh-huh.
by the EABL CEO, Jane Karuku.
Uh-huh. Okay, all
Yes.
right.
The one
So
that
is it
brings in
feeding-
the captains of industry, James Mwangi is there, the CEO of KCB is there, the CEO of Standard Chartered is there as well, and others.
Okay, is it feeding into the national ministry or Kagwe? Is it Kagwe? Yes? And all the county governments? Is it doing that? Is it controlling the policy and not the other way around?
No. It's the other way around.
It has to control the policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then others feed into that. Then things will work. Women are good at taking control of things when things are very difficult. When people are really suffering, they know what needs to be done because they are caregivers, they're caretakers, and they have the intellectual capacity to do what needs to be done in the right way and for everybody.
So, do I hear you to be saying, Amani, that as we are talking and discussing the possibility of who our next Chief Justice should be, we should simply abandon the quest for looking for a man and just choose a woman directly so that all the problems within our judicial system can be resolved?
Not a bad way to go. If she's qualified, has the required academic excellence and experience as a judge, etc., it would be a pretty good way to go. I would prioritize on that.
So we're looking at a situation, Amani, where, just looking at opening this up just a little bit, because it would seem as if we're throwing a blanket on all of this and saying, all the problems that you have, put a woman in place and you sort them out, essentially. But look at the details of all of this. COVID comes into the country, soon reaches pandemic proportions, and then because of that, certain things happen. The economy is affected. The lives of people are affected in terms of what they're able to earn and how they're able to earn. So we are saying, what you're saying essentially is that if a woman, because we have seen examples around the world, whether it's New Zealand, Germany, whereby the COVID situation, having been handled by women, was handled well, and the country did not suffer to the extent that others did, where a man was sitting in a position of leadership.
So where are you guys heading with this?
I'm asking Amani, you're saying if it was a woman in Kenya today, we would not have seen the suffering that we are seeing to the point where we are seeing it. We would not have seen that things were going haywire. We would not have seen mismanagement of COVID supplies and things like that. You think that if a woman was sitting in a position of leadership, things would be significantly different in Kenya today?
A competent woman, she has to be competent. Yes, that's a requirement.
Okay.
As I said, women are natural caretakers, and even the budgets in the house are done by women. And even the man, if he's being honest, he will say you've got no idea how she manages because the money is not that much, but somehow things work and work well. And there's a gentleman who called him, talked about, is it Chamans? And he said the most active people, the most serious people were the women. So this is documentary evidence. It may be anecdotal as well, but there's a lot of substance around this, and we should think about it more seriously.
Okay, thank you,
And again,
Amani.
with COVID, we've heard that men are not taking it that seriously. So you can see where the issue may be. That for them, I'm a guy, I'm tough, I can sort this out. Yeah. Women don't take those chances.
Okay, thank you very much, Amani.
Yeah, I love men, but I think this is a woman's thing.
We had
Take
Hillary
care,
on the
guys.
line, and I wanted just to go into Hillary. Hillary, you can call back now. We'll be speaking to you shortly. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 28 minutes after 9. Let's see how the road look like. Yeah. And then we pick more calls. 0719-012-600. Yeah, tough times, COVID times. Very many ideas that are being fronted by many of our callers. What is it that we can do? We can come together, and also what is it that you as an individual can do during these tough times? Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 29 after 9.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Tengesa kidole, agano kidole, agano. Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The weather with Spice FM.
It's mostly cloudy in Nairobi at 19, going to highs of 25 and lows of 17 today. Mostly sunny conditions in Nyeri at 18, highs of 24, lows of 13. We're going to see highs of 26 in Nakuru. It's raining now. It's coming down to lows of 15. Mostly cloudy in Eldoret at 19, highs of 25 today. 27 will be the high in Kisumu. It is actually raining through most parts at 22. Mostly cloudy in Kakamega this morning at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 16. 32 will be the high in Mombasa today, where it's mostly sunny and hot at 29. It's also 29 in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. 19 will be the low in Kampala. Today it's mostly sunny at 23. It's still raining in Dar es Salaam at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 24. 27 will be the high in Johannesburg. It's sunny and warm at 21. Partly sunny conditions in Lagos. We'll see highs of 33 today and lows of 26. And we're looking at sunny conditions in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 32. Looking east into Beijing, it's 23, getting warmer and warmer. That'll be the high for today, down to lows of 8. Sunny conditions in Paris. It's 3 degrees, however, highs of 11 and lows of 2. 6 in London, and sunny conditions, lows of 1 and highs of 11. And now creeping into Wednesday morning in New York, it's 10 degrees. It'll go to highs of 20, down to lows of 11.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay, so traffic situation not too bad today, actually. You can smile. Using those roads today will not be a headache, at least for most parts. Thika Road and the bypasses looking fantastic. I think it's looking pretty good, guys, unless I'm totally wrong. We do have a little bit of a hold up right around Langata Road. It's building up traffic, but then not too bad getting into the city. Waiyaki Way, Westlands, clear through to Uhuru Highway, in and outbound. Red Hill bypass also looking fantastic. Yes, this is the day that traffic has made great. SpiceFM KE talks to us through the morning. Text on 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
27 to 10. 27 minutes to 10. 0719-012-600 City. Where were you asking Karanja about the composition of his chama?
Because I am not certain that I know of any chama that is predominantly male that, and I'm talking about chama, I'm not talking about a company organization that has been wonderfully and exceptionally successful. I'm saying I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about...
Transcentury was a men chama.
Where is Transcentury right now?
So it made money.
Currently existing, I think is what CT is saying, that started after and has held its own for some time.
Transcentury existed, still exists. Where is it now in terms of its viability?
Made money.
Now you see, I said chama. I was actually you keep mumbling.
Santam was started by men. There's ICDCI. Where is it now?
Okay, where is ICDCI?
It became Centum.
Where is Centum now?
Big.
There's a point I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
These are organizations that for the longest time were viable because people who were allowed to participate in the activities were not, should we say, hindered. Men and women could participate, okay? Now, when you have a male-centric society like ours, of course you will have men who are at the forefront of everything, but nobody tells you the story of what is referred to as a support system which exists because of the women's participation in it. It's not told. For instance, we have financial institutions that were started by women, run by women. We see them moving. We have financial institutions that have been started by men. We've seen them moving. We've seen some collapsing. But that is because of the male-centric community that we have. So men have been at the forefront of these things. But when opportunities are provided, and we've seen women in leadership, I am not saying that there aren't organizations that are led by women that have collapsed. I'm simply saying, on the world scale, which is where the discussion was, women who have been in leadership, as in prime ministers and presidents of their countries, those countries seem to be thriving and doing a lot better than even their neighbors. Infinitely better. It's just a fact. It's not something that I am trying to sort of like champion. It's just a fact. Their entire thinking, the way they manage their things, different, better. Well, why don't we bring it home and ask ourselves, those who are married, is it that do married men fare better in their lives and in managing their affairs than men who are not married?
Than married women.
Oh, no.
Let's go to the phone lines. Hillary, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you, guys. I'm actually enjoying the show.
Thank you very much for. We know we were just about to pick you, and then now you've called back. Asante sana.
Yeah, I'd like to contribute to the topic today.
Go ahead.
What I'd like to say is that the problem with Kenyans, especially on a bigger percentage, is that we actually depend on being given or guided on what to do, especially from the government. During this pandemic, we find that most people here, they've lost their jobs. They don't know what to do. But a bigger number is waiting from the government to get funds or support from the government. But they are forgetting them themselves are the ones that are supposed to build the government. They are the government themselves. If the government can't support you in whatever situation, if you don't support the government, a bigger question is you should start asking yourself, what am I doing to support the government? If you look, for example, in an economy like America, throughout the history, America didn't build itself, but it was built by individuals. J.P. Morgan, like the Rockefeller family, who started their own thinking and enterprises to build up an economy whereby they came up to build the entire country. During this pandemic, you find that nobody has come up with an idea, help himself, that can help the government. A lot of people are stuck in the cities. They don't want to go, for example, to the villages. They've got funds lying there. And these are funds maybe they could be used to develop the economy through farming. And yet there's the funds, the climate is okay, everything is okay.
Yeah.
But what is happening? We are only crying about the government. It's ideas.
Yeah, good points. Very good points, Hillary. Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you.
Let's hear from Elijah. Good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Thanks.
So I wanted to challenge CT on his opinion of women leadership and resultant growth of those countries. I would rather suggest that probably presence of women leadership indicates stronger social, cultural, fiscal, and economic policies that would then enable for such a structure. Because if you come into a situation which is misogynistic, and and you put a woman leader there, you're setting her up to fail. And I'm looking no further than our own country. The idea that if you put a woman in, everything will turn around, I think might be a bit too far-reaching. It may be that those countries actually have policies and structures in place that make them realize that actually these ladies add even more value than we thought. But in a misogynistic society, that thought doesn't even come up. Yeah.
So it starts with the culture of the people.
Yes.
And if the people then are comfortable with whoever is at the top, then they will support whoever is at the top, and then the woman then will be able to thrive.
Yes, and sometimes it's not even just the culture, it's also the structures.
Okay.
You can have people who have cultural variances, but you have strong structures that support leadership.
What structure, for example, if you look at the way you said, the example of Kenya, what is a structure that is not suitable for a woman leader?
So first of all, when you look at the cost of becoming a leader, I think there was a figure of about 10 billion touted for presidential candidature. That already locks out youth and women. Then you look at politicking and how it's usually handled. It's very abrasive. The Cohesion Integration Committee, I don't think they've done much to change that. And so you have a situation where politics is a very testosterone-charged space. And in as much as we talk about we should have policy, when you find two elected leaders punching each other at a funeral, then the winner is the guy who punched the other guy down. And that's all that we discuss. Now, where is the space for the woman in that sort of engagement?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. City?
Oh, no.
Right of reply.
He is actually absolutely right. He is absolutely right. In fact, research shows that what has just been said is absolutely true. Because if you look at what we speak of anecdotally and with reference to women leaders in the world and the countries that have done well, research finds that if you look at the countries that are often referred to, okay, and you look at other countries that are led by men, you cannot say that if you look at the population of the country and the deaths that have occurred, for instance, as a result of COVID, that one country that is led by women has done better than the other. You do not. Now, there is a research that was conducted by a certain, the University of Nevada, Reno political science advocate, Professor Robert Ostergaard. Now, they examined 172 countries. And what they found is summarized by what you are saying, that if you look at the culture of a country, meaning if you look at a country that is, or a society that is more egalitarian, there's a likelihood that they will elect a woman simply because of the way they do their things. And if they elect a woman, then it is not that she's not elected because she's a woman. She's elected because she has proven to be the most capable. So, in a sense, you will then also find that the issue that we're dealing with that require tackling will be tackled better simply because that society allows the individuals within it to put into practice a meritocracy. Yes, that actually is the reality. And
Alan Elijah is right.
Oh, Elijah is 100% right.
There you go.
There you go, Elijah. Take the win.
I'll take the win for the day. Thanks.
Good one. Kenya's biggest conversation. The conversation continues. 0719-012-600. Let's take a break. Have you visited jobs.standardmedia.co.ke, this portal that allows you to view the many jobs that have been advertised, and also where you can sign up and you'll get job alerts on your SMS or on your email. You just go and say, this is a kind of job, or this is my profession, and these are the kind of jobs that I would be doing. And then whenever such jobs are posted, you will be notified. Sales manager, assistant manager, executive secretariat. Are you in the supply chain industry? Head of supply chain is being sought by Save the Children. 1 day to apply for this. Very many other jobs that have been posted. Operations and technical manager by Center for Public Health and Development, CPHD. Well, if you're looking for a job, just go to jobs.standardmedia.co.ke. We'll be speaking to Mila Menga, who's on the line shortly. Good morning.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, 9:45. Mila is on the line. Mila Menga in Siaya. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you today?
Niko salama.
Yeah.
I want to pick on Indu today.
Pick on me. Okay.
You asked something that has not been answered. That there are people today that are going without food.
Yes.
Their doors are being closed. They cannot survive. What do you do to them today?
Today.
Not tomorrow.
Yep.
That is the hardest question that must be answered within this discussion. And allow me to go around it. Now it is raining across the country. And you don't need to go and look for a loan to put an irrigation system to plant now and get food. And at the same time, we talk about an economy that is surviving on agriculture. And agriculture is contributing minimally to the GDP. Now the question is, what is happening? The same country we are talking about, 60% of youth are not employed. And this is the trivia. How do you differentiate between unemployment, joblessness, idleness, hopelessness, and being useless? It is a question that if you transfer it to your native language, then you will understand that sometimes somebody being idle is like somebody being jobless. Now tell me, if we were to go with the structures of government and we start blaming the government, let's put it right today that if somebody is going through a bad situation in Nairobi, let me say this person is staying in Dandora Phase 4. Do you find them teaming up in a group and going to the chief to tell them what they are going through? Then if they are not doing that, then the chief as the person who is coordinating government affairs on the ground, what content does he have to go and represent these things to the assistant county commissioner, to the county commissioner, direct to Matiang'i? So you find a chief seated there, he has no content, he's waiting for complaints. So if we go with what Cindy was talking about, the Harambee that we had initially, where people were teaming up as a community, they start an initiative as a community, they go build a school as a community, and then the government comes in to take over the running of the school. That is what we want in the country. That is what will engage people, and that is the problem that we have currently. There's a serious dealing between what the government is doing and what the citizens are doing. And I want to narrow it down. That on all the departments that the government is having, the only system that is functional in the country is the educational system. Because at the most local level, you will find a committee in charge of a school, and city will tell us very clearly that committee analyzes the funds that government takes to the school, and they go to the nitty-gritty on how those funds are used. Now, who analyzes the money that is coming for environment, Who analyzes the money that is coming for water? And these things are not done on air. These things are done on at the grassroots. Who analyzes the money that is coming for roads? That all that system is left aloof, and people have a leeway to use the money that they want, the way they want. So if we are supposed to answer this question, and I don't want to lecture Kenyans on this, because they know better. If my door has been locked today, if I don't have food today, you are the person to come up with a solution, not somebody else. You are supposed to own that problem.
Own the problem, come up with your own solution.
Come up with your own solution. Identify the office that is you're supposed to. If you cannot go as an individual, go as a community. And it is not about relief. It is about release. Of course, we cannot offer relief to an entire population. There are cases that will come in. An entire population.
Yes, why not?
Must a release.
There must be someone offering the relief.
I mean, why not? Why can that not be offered?
A relief.
Yes.
Maybe the understanding of the terms might differ.
Okay, tell me what you mean by the term.
For me, a relief is where a few people sit down somewhere and they identify that this is an orphan who cannot do anything today, and they give him something just to send them for a short period of time. That kind of that one you cannot do to an entire population.
Okay.
But a release is where these people own the problem, and this orphan identifies that this is what I'm supposed to do, and he gets his own daily bread from that particular. You give him the. Let me put it the right way. You don't give these people the fish. Give them
the net.
The net.
But the thing is, in that question, Miller, the thing is that a lot of people are not necessarily asking for fish. Look at what Kenyans are asking for now. They're actually asking for their net to be given back to them. Look at the appeal that you're hearing from now is, okay, we know the government doesn't have money or whatever. We're not saying give us food. We're saying allow us to work so we can earn. Make the environment conducive right now. I think people are at the point whereby they realize even if you give us a little bit of food today, we are going to be fine. I gave you the example of a gentleman who was expected to speak to today. What did he say? Yes, his rent then had been paid for by somebody, but more importantly, he now had a job because he realized in as much as you can give me money, it will finish. But then I need something that I can sustain. And I think that's where we should be. I agree. That's where we should be headed. And I think that a lot of minds of people right now are going to that point is make it conducive for us to work. Allow us to work. Have systems that work. At the end of the day, that's where we should be headed.
I totally agree. But you see, let us take the situation as it is today. I don't want to go into the issue of COVID because I've said a number of times that if I was to rate the President Uhuru on what he's doing on the issue of COVID, I will give him 50 plus 1. Because he's not supposed to score 80, he's not supposed to score 90, he's just supposed to score 50 plus 1, and it is unfortunate. Because the way he has handled COVID, I said earlier that the conversation completely shifted to reasoning about the vaccine. While there are a lot of issues that we could have been handled on the issue of COVID, which were left down the. I wanted to say way back, but I didn't have to put it on radio.
Miller, our producer John will be speaking to you.
Yes.
And then we will invite you so that we have this conversation with you. And you remember there was the other conversation on what can happen in terms of giving the citizens the power to make their local decisions. Miller, thank you very much for always contributing to the conversations.
Asante sana.
Let's hear from Edwin Washira on Mombasa Road. Edwin, good morning.
Morning to you. How are you? The three of you, good guys?
We are very good.
Now, I want to contribute on an issue that has been raised by City about chamas and men.
Yeah.
And why they never make it. I've been a treasurer of several of them. And this is how they die.
Oh, so it's true. Okay.
Yes, they start very small. You're at a certain level, all of you. Maybe you have just come from college, you're looking for jobs. Others, maybe they have grown older, they have started a chama out of a chama of their wives. But the problem with men is that if the social status of a man changes, it goes even down to the chama where he's being a member. I'll give you an example. You know, one of you guys have been a bit broke. Even when you're going for the meetings, you're giving him a lift, even giving some fare. Then this guy wins a tender. Suddenly, the 3,000 he could not get every month. He could not get. He was actually in arrears of about 6 months. Suddenly, he's telling the other members, let's contribute 100,000 per month.
And you're wondering, my goodness.
Yes, then
you had arrears a couple of months ago.
We were meeting at Kamaki's. Suddenly, he's saying that we meet at Panari. So now, that's how the chamas of men chamas break. Until I gave up. I'm an accountant by profession, so I was always a treasurer. Nimevunja tatu. Because of this problem. But you see, with the ladies, they can undo there. They don't. Their social status do not bring. They don't bring those status to the chama. That is how they are being able to stick together through thick and thin, no matter where you live, no matter what your status are.
So they are able basically to stay the cause.
Of course. Lakini wanaume.
So what needs to happen to change this? Is it a DNA? Is it because you don't have one rib?
It's a DNA issue. Because at least you don't want to meet somebody. If you're now living in Runda, and your friend whom you're in the same chama is still in Kariobangi, I'm telling you, even meeting, you will not feel comfortable meeting that person. It's an egocentric thing about men. So men and chama, join them, do what you are doing, get out as fast as you see the signs of any breakup.
What? I think we should have a deeper conversation.
Thank you very much, Edwin. About this one.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Well, hey, there are several comments on social media. You can read them.
Workers' unions in Kenya have failed Kenyans, and this is one of the things Winnie's saying this morning. How are they supporting their members who are losing jobs? The government has no check. Main opposition is in government. Right. So, I mean, a bucket with a big hole at the bottom can never be filled with water, even if it rains for a year. Metaphorically, this is Kenya, according to Thomas. Government to cushion Kenyans from COVID lockdown adverse effects is a pipe dream. Citizens pool resources in your community's circles for a rainy day. That's how it's going to happen, according to some. It's got to be people pulling the weight for one another. It's not going to come for government. Ken Kenya is asking, how can Kenyans save when majority of them live hand to mouth? Is there any kind of saving that can be done? Creating an individual safety net, creating a communal safety net. If you're living on hand to mouth, if what you earn on a daily basis is what you consume on that day, how on earth then are you supposed to start saving? Question. But it would seem as if the responsibility of getting out of this mess is upon the shoulders of Kenyans themselves. The government should open up hotels and bars. They can work to curb the spread of COVID-19, lower VAT to 6 to 10% and pay IE to 20% and tax above 15,000 shillings income. Create a cash flow first. Halt major projects that are state-funded. This is according to Shurage Mwai.
Shurage,
there are many things that can be done right now to solve this problem from a government perspective.
First of all, prepare the fuel. VAT is going up from 8% to 16% in a few days' time. Ngoja. Hiyo mambo yote unasema it's okay, but it's okay. City, today's proverb.
Right. Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors.
We are all going through turbulent times, and rough waters.
And we are being forced to think beyond the boundaries that we were previously accustomed to thinking. And we are being forced to find solutions where even none existed. And we are being forced to think laterally, as we say. Now these choppy waters, one could argue, despite the fact that there is suffering involved in simply, should you say, staying afloat in those waters, there are benefits at the end of it. Yes. Because the one thing that COVID seems to have done, it has petered down and brought down a lot of these politically instigated differences that we keep talking about. And people seem more focused on just how to survive and also how to look after the people who are closest to them.
That's true.
Yes.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the Situation Room today. We always enjoy your company. Asante sana. There are many, many who just listen, they don't call, and then one day they will call. But the fact that you listen is enough. Asante sana. And for those that call, asanteni sana pia. And those that also participate on social media. And join us again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Have a lovely day.